within my nation who brought, because he was talking about Supreme Court, Ontario law, Canadian law is different kind of things.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So it was just he. I don't know. I just realized I said, what about then in diversity of citizenship? Oh, what he basically pointed out is he just said at one point Eritrea wasn't its own country, and until the nationals of Eritrea made it law or put something into that effect, it wasn't basically. It wasn't. Is what you were saying.
Yeah. Next time you could also bring up the law enforcement code of ethics, because that even says they have to uphold the Constitution, and it doesn't say Constitution Act in there. It just says Constitution and the oath of honor. So how come you're telling me about Constitution Acts of Canada and all this stuff or whatever?
Charter of
Supreme law of the land.
Traffic Act and Charter of Rights.
Then your oath should say that. If the oath doesn't say that, then it's something like, what are you trying to say? Yeah. Islam wars. Let's get started up. You didn't start yet. You're right on time. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe. The Father of love. Truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, to His holy prophet, Noble Ali. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Ali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I am Noble Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. And also the divine constitution and bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America are empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or falsely accuse his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to cause any confusion or overthrow any laws and the constitution of the said government, but obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must now proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the Prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Islam. We have next week, Ottawa. No, not the week after next week, Ottawa. The second. Islam to Islam to the Moors out there. Next week we have our second annual ADAP retreat. So no different than different organizations, companies, whatever out here. They section off some time for the leadership to be off-site, do their building, rapport building, whatever like that. So every year we go somewhere to do one of these things. That's next week. This is also part of the, if you would call it, incentive for the members to keep up their work as far as their activity with the Moorish movement, so that they can be brought into the ADAP side of things and be able to do these little things and have a little bit more say in things that are going on with regard to the leadership part of this. We've also confirmed Noble Juali Day for January 4th. It's going to be at the same place at Don David Trimble, what we know as Flemington Park Resort Center, same place we had it last year. We have 2 guest speakers this year, Brother David Bay and Seton Bay. Brother Seton is going to be speaking on the part 2 to the lecture the Skype that he did on Moorish connection to immigration. And Brother Dave is going to be speaking on minerals, the connection between man and plants. Is going to be the lecture, and we're still dealing with the formalities, what else we're going to do. But also this is going to be our 10th Juali Day. So we've come a long way from the first one that we did, and we're still here doing the work that Noble Juali ordained us to be doing out here when he made his pilgrimage or made his trek here, speaking with Oscar Bruton and Madame Bruton about starting up temples here and stuff like that in the 1920s. So know that us taking part, 1920s, yeah. He came here to meet with Oscar Bruton, who was one of the what do you call it? Grand potentates or whatever of the Order of the Elks, which was a large order, the Order of the Elks. And Madame Bruton was the first Asiatic out here with a community center that used to be on Young Street. And she had hair salons and some other, she had some other stuff that she was doing. So so we're living manifestation of the prophecy of him wanting to have this stuff happening here, and here we are getting it done. Islam. And also we're going to be doing our walk, our equinox, our autumn equinox walk, which is the 9th. The 9th, Saturday the 9th. It's going to be we're meeting up at Young and Merton Street at the Beltline. Beltline path is just east of Young on Merton Street, and it's pretty much going to be a few hours. We go on the Beltline and we just walk 1 hour that way and then hour back, just so that we can have again our camaraderie with ourselves, our time with ourselves, and like Brother Omar says, part of all this is us creating a culture for ourselves as Moors here, so that we already know Juali Day is part of the culture. We're 10 years in on that. Barbecue every summer, that's part of the culture. All of the different gates, having something that we're doing on the different gates, part of the culture. Going to Montreal, Ottawa, this is, maybe 8-9 years we've been doing that, part of the culture. And anything else that anybody else thinks is worthy of us doing as Moors, we start doing it, put it on the calendar and make it something that we're doing every year, every 6 months, every whatever, so that we can create this idea of, being amongst ourselves, as well as making a staple for others to see that, this is not just like, I was watching a Moor Science Temple video online earlier today, and they were in there singing hymns about Noble Juali or whatever. So that's not where we want to be with our activity or our existence as a temple, as a nation, as an organization, as body politic, whatever. This is way beyond singing some hymns and just sitting around and this is all we do, come into this building and that's it. There has to be something happening out there in the world where the people are, so they can see what this is about, right? Any questions, comments, or anything like that before we get started up? So we have we're gonna read and put this in context with Noble Drew Ali and his teachings on Malcolm X, By Any Means Necessary, and we're gonna take a read from his letter from Cairo that he wrote. This is 1964, and this is also for us to be able to see the transition that he made, because he was most definitely making the transition from whatever NOI taught him to a higher degree of knowledge and thought, right? No different than Brother Khalid. Same thing. He was making his position known that the things that we were doing, we can't be doing those things or moving in those ways anymore, because as we know, because man is mind, there has to be some type of evolution of thought. There can't be a stagnant place that we stay at. You know, again, going back to the different committees and stuff that we would have at the temple. It's for us to be doing different things than just every Sunday come to the temple, doing a class, and then everybody go home. There has to be more things going on in order for us to like what the Moore said, get recognized by whoever's out here. It can't be just, yeah, they saw us at the temple only. Everywhere they go, they should see a fez or something like that. Every store they go into, they should bump into a Moore. And we know that it's getting to that place because Brother Lani was telling me on the Canaanland Moors Instagram, we have, people that are frequently following that. And that's just on him just putting out pictures or whatever. There's no classes there, there's no nothing, just little information about us being a temple or whatever like that, people are following.
Even for example, my son, what happened with him, it's like up not there, but I was 7 years, that place up there,
yeah.
They know him now.
Right.
So if there's another more go there, they know who
they know what's up there.
Because of what he been through there. So they just kick him to the back.
Right.
They have enough. You know what I mean? So it's like, it seems to others on the outside, it's might be hurtful for him, but for him, it's not. It's like I'm doing my job.
That's his activity.
Yeah,
right.
That's his activity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they know now. So if someone go across, they know. They can't say they don't know.
It's honors.
And again, that's not limited to because he has traffic stuff or whatever, right? He has traffic stuff and he's being himself when he deals with those people.
Correct.
It's not, that's his activity. I'm going to the court because that's whatever, that's what we're gonna do, right? He's just being himself dealing with them. So wherever they deal with them, they're gonna deal with them more. They're not gonna deal with name on the license or name on the plates or whatever like that, right? So don't look at, when you hear situations like that more went to court or more went to the lawyer's office or more went to something relative to dealing with the quote unquote government or whatever, that might not be their activity. They might have just been being themselves, and then that's just the venue that they're at, right? That's where the impact of them being themselves is most recognized, because we know Moors use stores out here and all that, right? And they don't have any issues, but nobody's looking at that as them being active. That's just more went to the store. But you put up some, like we said, we did that with one of the videos of going to send some mail, recording it or whatever like that, showing the taxes off on the receipt or whatever, that's nothing. 500 views. The more goes to court and says whatever, whether they win, lose, or whatever like that, that stuff has 50,000. Because the people's mindset is, oh, well, they got issues, so that's the way that stuff. Well, there's more who you don't even hear about them going to court. And they got issues that they're dealing with these people. And you don't hear them going into those venues at all. Right?
That's when they're most effective.
Right. So the effectiveness is us being ourselves with this. Right? The point of this is not to be able to get off something. Get off something is secondary. That's the least. Islam. Please.
So I gave them this morning.
Oh, you actually.
Quick announcement, I have some meatball subs ready, and then I'm gonna make barbecue tofu and Korean chickpea. I mean curry chickpea and potato wraps.
So no meat over there. It's all we serve here.
What? Oh, meat? You said where's the meat? Is that what you said?
He said no meat.
Oh, no meat. Today? Oh, sorry, not real meatball.
Hey, fat boy.
Mental
Hey, fat boy,
turkey
stand up. Fat boy, stand
Not
up.
part of how.
Not even meatballs.
You got a meeting to run here, bro.
So, bye.
Oh, and what if you have done one, you can just give them to Omar, put them in the put them in the stomach.
This might be the problem with you too, right?
There's something
go ahead, Mark.
I thought, like this morning I stopped at the store where you go to boys and you go.
Go ahead.
And there was, like, the guy in the store, like, the usual no tax thing, they know.
Yeah.
So they say, oh, long time no see him. And then a conversation started where he's telling me now about where is it when this thing happening now with Syria and this one and that one?
Most recently,
Yeah, right now what's happening. So he's telling me now over there, Turkish, this, that, Iran, all of them was one place.
Yeah.
And they did what they did.
Yeah.
And now see the problem we're having? And divide people them, and that's what he's complaining to me about.
Right.
And I'm telling him, no, it's the same thing over here. Same thing over here.
Yeah.
So you see these people on the outside when
In
they
fact, what's going on over there?
you get more.
I was just telling him about your
reciprocity.
Yeah.
Reciprocating.
Right. So they're easier to get onto what we're saying than our people over here.
Yeah.
Because they know what's going on for them and what happened to them.
Right.
And our people lost that part of our own.
But that's like what we were talking about on the way here too. We were talking about Japan and how in Japan with the whole stuff that they're going on with there, you know what I mean? Their whole country's in uproar. It's not just a group of them. Everybody's standing up for something over there because they already have a national mindset. So same thing that you're saying, that even though all these places are separated and they got colonized and democracies over there, they already know what's up. They already have a foundation of who they are, what their culture is. You know what I mean? Regardless of what's going on, they know that, anciently we were this. Whereas with us, we can't even get past, slavery.
Yeah.
We hit slavery and then we're stuck there for discussing that for hours. Right?
Well, it's just interesting that reading an article about China and China's development over the years and how they prospered together. So we included all on the map. It shows a map of all of China, but they left out I think it was Taiwan. And they left out Taiwan and they got a big uproar saying how you gonna leave out Taiwan out of China? You know what I mean? So the whole thing was about them reversing or criticizing the person that was presenting the map, showing where China's
because like not what we're trying to do, but they left out Taiwan in that map. So they're saying Taiwan is supposed to be part of the map of China, right? So just to show you, like their unity, not their inclusiveness, and including everybody in that. They're not dealing with no black or stuff. They're dealing with nationality.
They're dealing with nationality, which again, going back to El Hajj, that's where he was trying to get the people at, even with the Organization of Afro-American Unity, to have all these people on the same mindset. But we already know how that went, right? And again, using Brother Khalid, which I was watching a video earlier today too, and the same thing that they did with El Hajj, with Elijah Muhammad, getting him out and shutting him down or whatever. That's the exact same thing that Farrakhan did to Khalid, and it was like the same thing. I think it was like up to maybe to the month or something like that. But it was the exact same time, the exact same way that they did it. Or they gotta silence him first or whatever. We can't talk about certain stuff, put certain sanctions on him, and then get him out of the thing, right? Yeah, right. And again, recognizing that the steps that he was taking, the direction that he was going, was bringing the people out of that whole civil rights thing that they were so loving and adopting to, and moving towards human rights. And this was directly in line with where Noble Drew Ali was trying to get the people so many generations even before him. Forget the civil rights and the stateless idea of what law is. Let's deal with national principles. All right, so this is his letter from Cairo. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful, my dear brothers and sisters, my stay here in Egypt is just about drawing to a close. My mission here on your behalf is just about complete in this part of Africa. For the next few weeks, unless something drastic happens to force me to change my plans, I will be traveling through several other African countries, visiting and speaking in person to various African leaders at all levels of government and society, giving them a first-hand knowledge and understanding of our problems, so that all of them will see, without reservation, the necessity of bringing our problem before the United Nations this year and why we must have their support. Right? This is where he was going. And again, he's not doing this on behalf of some organization. He's doing this on behalf of his brothers and sisters who he knew that were over here facing certain stuff that they're still talking about today that they're facing. And they talk about they honor El Hajj and they whatever like that. Well, if he's talking about going to the United Nations, then that means he's also talking about United Nations declarations. And if he's talking about United Nations declaration, then he has to be talking about nationality, because that's one of the articles in it. Even though he might say black people and African people or whatever, we know what's going on now. Now we know, based on the knowledge that we have as Moors, what was really going down and how many other people were following this pattern of making sure that the people who are classified and facing the quote-unquote hells of North America or whatever, that the only way that they're going to go out with any type of real true liberation is by them acknowledging that they're a nation. What that nation is, they're still, you know what I mean, they're still rocky or whatever. But in this time, he knew if we're going to get something, we can't go to these people here. Same thing that we tell Moors with, you know, well, they have a situation and then they want to go to some district court, Supreme Court, whatever like that, to go sue. Well, those guys are the same enemy. of the people who just beat your ass. Why would they even hear what you're saying? They're not even going to hear what you're saying. You're going to the criminal to tell the criminal, hey, criminal, stop doing criminality. And he said, no, we're going to go outside of this jurisdiction. We're going to go across the Atlantic Ocean, and we're not even going to the UN. We're going to our brothers and sisters in other places. Let them know what's going on. Let them go to the UN for us. Which seems like a way more feasible way to get this thing done than what they're doing today, March Picket or whatever like that. They're African, they came over here on slave ship, whatever. None of these people thought, hey, why don't we do what Malcolm said and just go talk to all these other African leaders or whatever. But again, they lost that opportunity because after El Hajj met with them, that's when they got rid of all those African leaders over there and put in their little puppets. That they got puppets there now today, selling over there. Now they have nobody to go to. The only thing that they got right now is what the Moors have been telling these people for the past 100 years. That's the only way anything's gonna happen for them, right? The indigenous, Aboriginal, whoever, if we go talk to any of those people, none of them are gonna go in their pocket and pull out nationality card, tribal card, Indian card, whatever that they made to show us that they're in line with their stuff as Indian, Black Indian, whatever they call themselves, right? You know, like we say, their top guru right now, Dane Calloway, has 2 European names, and then he's going around telling people about they're indigenous, but he has 2 European names. That's not, the world's not looking at that as that's a legitimate position, that you're Native American, but you have 2 European names. It's not going to be taken serious. And again, what did Malcolm X do? Got rid of the Malcolm, got rid of the X, said Malik El-Shabazz before he even went over there. Goes there, got his El-Hajj now. So now everybody is going to respect him. It's not just going to be him, that's just something he did. This is something that everybody in the world knows. Once you see somebody with El-Hajj, they went and they did their pilgrimage. They took their steps necessary to join the quote-unquote Muslim world. And then Juali told all these Moors that, you know, everybody in the world is Muslim, like, regardless of what. Chinese, Turks, whoever. All these people are Muslim. I'm not at all doubtful of support, but I've learned that one cannot take things for granted and then cry when nothing materializes. We must learn that we are masters of our own destiny, but only when we exercise the maximum efforts to get things done. Take nothing for granted in this world, and we will then be assured of success. We must learn that we are masters of our own destiny. People could say that he's a black guy, whatever like that. That's metaphysical. Us knowing that we're masters of our own destiny is, or him knowing that we're masters of our own destiny and expressing that is letting him know, or letting the people know, that he's in a metaphysical place in his mind. Like he's not in Negro, black, or whatever place. He's in a metaphysical place. If we're masters of our own destiny, but only when we exercise the maximum efforts, he knows that this little, you know, be Moors for one day just till you get off your charges and then you're not a Moor and all that stuff. That's not maximum effort. Maximum effort is going 100% all the way in. Maximum effort is like what Juali said in the thing, Act 7. Make sure you attend your meetings. Make sure you read these proclamations and not sing hymns to Noble Juali and think, oh yeah, we're doing something because we're singing some hymns to the prophet. You must realize that what I'm trying to do is very dangerous because it is a direct threat to the entire international system of racist exploitation. It is a threat to discrimination in all its international forms. Therefore, if I die or am killed before making it back to the States, you can rest assured that what I've already set in motion will never be stopped. The foundation has been laid and no one can hardly undo it. Our problem has been internationalized. The results of what I am doing will materialize in the future, and then all of you will be able to see what is necessary for me to be here, why it is necessary for me to be here this long, and why I was laying the foundation for a while here. I have been pleased to receive letters from many of you lately, especially to know that you will take time from my many other duties and obligations to write to me. From the sound of some of the letters, there seems to be much dissatisfaction and disunity creeping in among you, and some seem dissatisfied even with me. This sounds like history repeating itself. Right. When we go back to Nobuju Ali and what he was doing in the 1900s, and then how he got sold out by his own because of the same stuff that he told these Moors, read the proclamations every meeting. Because every week mine is going to be tried because people have lost faith in this. And instead of turning their carbon button and go back to be niggers or whatever, they're going to keep their fez on, keep their nationality card, and keep pretending like they're for the Moorish movement. And then in 2019, we have people questioning the Moor Science Temple and the Moors and what are the Moors doing because of the same idea. From the sound of some of the letters, there seems to be much dissatisfaction and disunity creeping in among you, and some seem dissatisfied even with me. Same thing Juali said. She's like, Moors lost faith in the prophet. Why? How could you lose faith in the prophet? The only way you lose faith is if you weren't studying what it is that he brought you to know how legit it is what he brought you. Same thing that he wrote this letter from Cairo. Same thing with Marcus Garvey having the or Amy Jacques Garvey putting out all Marcus Garvey stuff in Philosophies and Opinions, so all these people know where he was, especially when he was locked up or whatever. What was his mindset? What message was he trying to relay when they sent all these things? There's a good interview with what's that other name? Queen Mother Moore, talking about the Garveyites and when they were part of the Garveyites or whatever, and when the highwaymen were trying to stop him from lecturing, and they would actually be at the lectures, at the UNIA meetings or whatever. Highwaymen would be there. Time for Garvey to go up? No, you can't go up. They're not at their own stuff. They're at the UNIA meeting, telling the UNIA people, Garvey can't go talk to you guys. Really? And all these people would be in there with their 22, with their pitchfork, with their whatever. Lock and loaded, he's talking. You guys not gonna tell him he can't talk or whatever like that. And then all those people, they'll leave because they already know Negroes with guns and all that stuff, and they go about their business. They're not coming back raiding and pressing charges on people or whatever. Just, oh, you guys are that serious about Garvey? Okay, fine, no problem. He can talk to you guys. And then he'll go up and do his whatever, right? Talking about how the internal power playing that was going on in the UNIA, and how it was people on the inside that trumped up the charges on him to get the Black Star Liner shut down, saying that he's selling fake even before the mail fraud. Even before the mail fraud, people were trying to stop what he was doing. Why? Because just like El Haj, What is he doing? Looking across the Atlantic, trying to find his little connections over there and getting support from over there. Because obviously the support here was kind of wobbly.
I think they put Edgar Hoover with him.
Yeah, yeah,
He thought it was a friend.
yeah.
Someone like him.
All right.
Brother,
No, you're saying, you're mentioning how see wearing your fez on a button and turn your nationality card and everything. It seems like you're saying how the Moors, dirty Moors nowadays, it seems like they haven't done. It's like falsehood and falsehood.
truth and falsehood. Yeah.
It's like a mixed thing, because they lost faith, right? Now, since the faith is gone, but they don't want to give up the stuff that which is truth, right? So they're taking the truth and mixing it in with their own desire, which is falsehood and truth. It's just strange. Oh, strangely mixed.
I want you to know that this is a normal. I want you to know that this is normal, and therefore it doesn't excite or worry me. I am not particularly surprised at the ones around who so much of the controversy and dissatisfaction seems to be raging, because experience has taught me never to take anyone or anything for granted. Being away from America is a blessing in more ways than one. It has enabled me to become untangled from the strong emotional issues and step back and view the whole picture with more objectivity than I could if I were right there. Right? Being away from America has enabled him to become unentangled from the emotionalism, which is what was stopping everything that we were trying to do. Because all these people have to do is pull some race card, and then everybody forgets about what we're supposed to be doing. Immediately, they forget what we're supposed to be doing. And then they're caught up in going and marching and whatever like that. We just spoke with the African leaders and going to the UN. Like, what do you mean we're marching about stuff? Same thing with today. Somebody wants to declare their nationality. They found out about Moors or whatever. They go online, they see one video about some Moor out there that's unconscious, talking crazy about Moors. Oh, now they don't want to be Moors now. Oh, that's a problem. Or all Moors do is get arrested, and we don't want anything to do with that or whatever. Right? The emotional issues. And again, that turns into baggage now, because people aren't dealing with it, so they just keep filling their pockets with all this emotional stuff or whatever like that, and then nothing can get done, right? And again,
it's just like the juvenile blackface business.
Yeah.
They can try and,
Perfect example.
they have people focused and all emotional about that. Meanwhile, they're screwing you.
Yeah.
Screwing you with your other stuff, like this thing that they're going to do with your house. They're going to charge you. Make you pay taxes on any capital gains you earn if you sell your principal residence. They never used to do that.
Yeah.
If you sold a property that rental or whatever, then that's a different thing. Now we want to speak this thing. People don't say nothing, but they're going to say we told you about it, but you were too busy looking at the blackface.
Exactly.
So all they did was change the adjective.
Yeah.
Black to brown.
Yeah.
We ain't never heard brown face until
Yeah.
drag, sing, or whatever. If it wasn't for
Yeah.
the Moor that's running for the Canadian game, then they wouldn't say brown face. They'd still say black face. Because most people who are not from Hindustan refer to them as brown.
Yeah.
That's why they use that.
And then he's dark like black guys, and they don't call themselves black either.
That's right.
I can even see the problems better. That have risen within our own OAAU and the Muslim mosque. Let me restate my own position. I believe in human rights for everyone, and that no one of us is qualified to judge each other, and that none of us should therefore have that authority. We don't have the right to force anyone to walk with us, nor do we have the right to condemn those who want to leave. Those who become impatient when they don't see us getting results and therefore want to try another way. We can't blame them, and we have no right to be angry with them. If we ourselves produce results, people will stay, and they will all support a good program that is getting good results. If brothers want to establish another organization, even that is their right. We must learn to wish them well and mean it. Our fight must never be against each other. No matter how much we differ over minor things, our fight must always be directed against the common enemy. If any Muslims are dissatisfied, they cannot be compelled to stay among us and cannot be condemned for leaving us. This is the point I am trying to get across to you. I only say that to those of you who do go, try to keep good thoughts in your hearts about us, for we shall be trying to think good things about you. If any of you want to leave the OAAU and form something else, I say the same to you, and I say the same to you that I say to the Muslims. But wherever you go and whatever you do, remember that we are all still brothers and sisters, and we still have the same problem. Let us not waste time condemning and fighting each other. We have already wasted too much time and energy doing this in the past. I know your grievances, much of which is just, but much of which is also based upon inability to look at the problem as a whole. It is bigger and more complicated than many of us realize. I've never sought to be anyone's leader. There are some of you there who want leadership. I've stayed away this summer and given all those who want to show what they can do the opportunity to do so. When I return, I will work with anyone who thinks he can lead. And I only pray to Allah that you will work with me likewise. I hope my position is clear. I am not interested in fighting Elijah Muhammad or any other Afro-American. I don't even want any arguments with them. If our own program produces results, then our work will speak for itself. If we don't produce results, then we have no argument anyway. Brother Benjamin is the best teacher I left behind. He has many faults and many weaknesses, but then so have I, and so have many of the rest of you. I am going to be away for at least another month. During that time, you can overlook the small differences that you have and make progress by working with each other. Or you can be at odds and make no progress. You can make the Muslim Mosque and the OAAU a success, or you can destroy both organizations. It's up to you. You have one more month. I have so much faith in Allah and in rights and in my people that I believe I can come back and start from scratch. And if it is necessary, as long as I mean right, Allah will bless me with success. And our people will help me in this fight. I love all of you and pray Allah will bless all of you. Assalamu alaikum, your brother and servant. Islam. How many other thoughts or?
Yeah, I want to say earlier, every single time I walk into a Pizza Nova, I always say welcome to the mountain. And especially at Jane and closer to Jane and Major Mac area, there's a pizza there by Nature's Emporium. That's the pizza where I went to and I shared that. And I noticed the guy, he just took the tax off. Yeah, when I buy pizza or whatever, he just took the tax off. And we were talking, he said, I think he was from Afghanistan or whatever. So I was working on Friday and we walked into another pizza. And I shared the same thing. And it took a while, but the guy shared that he was from Afghanistan. And I'm like, welcome to Maghreb. And he's like, oh, well, what's that? And you don't know Maghreb? And then they say, no, what does it mean, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I believe it's in Sanskrit and it's in Arabic. And it means the farthest west, the extreme west, where the sun sets. And this is the land of the most extreme west, and where we say the sun sets. This is Iraq. And this is Maghreb. And then he goes, oh, yeah, like, it does mean that in Farsi. And I put it together, I'm like, okay, this guy just wants to see how much I know. Because if he's telling me that it means
sun sets or whatever, in Farsi, then clearly you know what I'm talking
You know what I'm saying.
So it's funny though, every single time I've gone to Pizza Nova, I find there's always somebody from the Oriental, the East, usually working there. Somebody. So,
It's love. And I guess paralleling that with Noble Drew Ali and his divine warning. And the point that he knew where the people were, he was trying to get the people into a different mind space based on his personal activity. Right? Same thing that we say with all these people honor Dr. Ben and all this stuff. He's our master teacher or whatever. Well, he had a doctorate in Moorish history. So how you got issues with what the Moors are saying? How is it that there's a problem with our position when your own master teachers studied the same stuff that we studied? And why not take that mindset that they had and apply it to what it is that you're claiming? All these people with, for example, using the Aboriginal Indigenous people. All of those people know about Alim Bay. They know about the Washita. They know about the Empress and all that. They know that they're Aboriginal Indigenous. The UN recognized them as the oldest Indigenous people on the planet and all that stuff because they're descendants of the Olmecs. Well, if the oldest people on the planet, that's Washita, that's recognized by the UN, are L's and Bays and all that, then what's the problem with the Aboriginal people? What do you mean you got nothing to do with Moors and you don't want anything to do with them? We're not that, because my grandma didn't say that we're Moors, so we're not Moors. So your grandma was probably Negro black colored mindset, which is why you had that mindset, right? So we've read this before, but we'll go through this again. If anything comes to mind that's up to speed, feel free to just put it out there. Divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens, according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. Now, even up until this point, when we look at Noble Drew Ali's writings, the mindset that quote unquote Moorish Americans in the Moorish Science Temple have is that he was talking to them, when he himself is saying that this is for the nations. And if he's talking to the nations, he's obviously not only talking to people who are in the temple. He's also talking to people outside of the temple. And what's the position of these people outside of the temple that in his mind, he has to tell them something or put them on game with regard to, free national constitutions and inferior names that allow abuses and mistreatments, etc. Is that more?
Yeah, so in regards to why you would be talking to them, it's 1920s. and none of them were free.
Mhm.
like nobody's country that anybody come from that they call back home. Majority of them were either part of another empire or they were a colony. That's why most independence days are celebrated from the 1950s and 1960s. That's when most Asiatic nations, most even European nations got their independence.
Their little freedom.
So he was talking to people who were actually itching to be what they are now.
Right.
So when you talk to these people, you know, there isn't a conversation. Like, there's no certain things aren't even, like me personally, certain things I don't even argue about. Because that was the 1920s.
Yeah.
And he gave them exactly what they needed at that time.
That's what all prophets do.
Yeah.
Not just to Moorish Americans, and not after they were already independent. Before, when they were still, you know, under whatever they were under, Empire, Ottoman Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, you know, colonies of France, colonies of Germany, like that's the majority of the planet. That's everybody. It's not some special situation, you know. So, you know, that's why, you know, that's what shows and proves he's really a prophet of love, you know, a true prophet.
True prophet.
So nobody can really, like I said, certain things, it's not even a conversation. If somebody was gonna have a certain type of conversation with me, it's like, no, you need to do your research.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 1920s, huh?
Yeah.
1920s.
1920s.
Even that.
They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine and national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. Now again, that goes back again to this idea of when we say Moorish Science Temple of America, and you have Moorish Science Temples speaking about the membership from the perspective of it's only limited, or the information is only for people who were claiming to be members. You know, there were Chinese in the temple in the 20s. There were Turks in the temple. There were Japanese in the temple. There were individuals in the temple that weren't quote unquote classified as black. But I'm sure they had some type of undesirable name. I'm sure they had some type of fiction that they were agreeing to, whether it was through citizenship, whether it was through some membership of some organization, that they knew they had to be free from that position. And, you know, again, like Brother Tesba said, his idea was love first. El-Hajj went to Mecca, came back, and was telling these people, it's about love. It's not about, you know, peace and love. It's not about, it's not about us, I know you seen prior sentence? No. Yeah, that's why that's almost one of those I used for the flyer. It was about this love energy being sent to everybody so that they can adopt the teachings. Once the teachings are adopted, then everything else is going to open up. Just like we tell people with this, you can proclaim your nationality all you want, but until you be yourself, somebody can't make you be yourself. Until you start being yourself, you really don't know what it is to be a Moor. We can have the grandest teachers and they could have the most books and the most knowledge, and we could sit at their feet every day, all day, get so much information. But until we step out in the world as a Moor, like the Moor is saying, go to the store, tell them about some Maghreb or whatever, and they're looking at you, what are you talking about? You know, not because they don't know, but they want to know how you know. And how you have so much to be talking about that. You have so much to be talking about Hindustan instead of India, and Ceylon instead of Sri Lanka. And what do you know about Dogon tribes, and they wear fezzes and all this? Because once we start learning about this, just like anything else, you learn what a hammer is, next thing is to use it, or the knowledge is useless. No matter what type of hammer it is. Once you have the knowledge and don't apply, it's useless, right? Even with mechanics. You could know whatever, you can know everything. But until you fix a car, you just know some information, right? Serving no purpose. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, you got stuff going on down there? Because we just got two more just showed up. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they would be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into the light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. Again, this idea of people thinking that when Moors are coming into this information, that the whole idea of commerce is about some process, when the whole concept of commerce has to do with trade with each other. What are we trading? The whole idea of us being ourselves and gold and silver and commerce belonging to the citizens alone is the same thing what Garvey was doing, with saying, I'm going to start up this shipping company. I'm going to sell stocks in it. And then once you have the stock, now you have some power. Because we know that this thing is going to take off, which is what the enemy knew, which is why they sent in their infiltration and then shut it down. And getting that stuff out of your mind about they were going to use those little ships to take people back to Africa or whatever craziness. They didn't know why they were using those ships to go back to anywhere. That was all about trade, so that we can have some type of relations with other people than this European, who we shouldn't have to do anything with if we know all these other people out there. If we know all these other people in all these different places, all we need to do is bridge that gap with them. And now we have exactly what they have. Just because we're dealing with quote unquote national principles. And the national principles are something that are for everybody. Once they have connected themselves to free national standards, which again is part of why we got Juali Day, why we got Divine Constitution, why we got Holy Quran, why we wear fezzes, turbans, why we do certain things. Because these standards are something that people can't take away from us. Same reason why when that European went up to Jagmeet or whatever, about, hey, why don't you take off your turban or whatever so we could vote for you? And he's like, no, what do you mean take off turban? Like, why should I, this is Canada, it's a free country and all this type of stuff, you know what I mean? Right? It really was, man was trying to pull rank on him. Yeah. Like, I'm a European. Yeah, what do you mean you're over here in a turban and you're leading parties and stuff like that? Like, this is our country or whatever. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. This is part of the empire. And if we look around, we see exactly what it is Noble Juwali was talking about, that brothers from the East are going to come save your ass. Because you think that you got friends or something like that, as Negro, black, colored, African, whoever. You have any friends around here? Everybody hates black people's guts and want them out of here. Or stick them over there and we'll just walk up and down Eglinton or whatever like that, see what type of stores we own and what type of stores foreigners own, and then we know if we're in trouble or not. If all we got is a little food store and a barber shop and that's it, and we expect that this system's going to shut down and then we're going to live off that only, we have serious problems. Serious problems. I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a free national government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Going back to what you were saying about the highwayman, and well, Canada makes up North America, but it's not part of North America, it's its own country or whatever. This is how they put it out there in order for them to have somewhere. Because these people know that they have nowhere. They know that they can't go back to Europe or whatever. They can't go back to Caucasus. They can't go back to Patagonia. They can't go back to Brazil or whatever like that. So this is about all they got. Here and probably Israel is about all that the Europeans got, that they have a little claim on, that they can say, okay, we'll go back there and we'll call that something of ours. But as soon as we start waking up and the people start coming to their senses that, well, you know what? You know, that's another thing I was thinking about when we're dealing with highwaymen or whoever. Once they're European, we should be asking them where's their visas and their papers and stuff like that. Because they're really foreigners here.
I did ask one guy when they let me off, released me once.
Yeah.
I look up when it's called too. I looked up at him and I said, sir, that name Smith, is that an African name that most people, or it's a European name? And he said it's European name.
Yeah.
I said, there you go. Do I look European to you?
Yeah.
He said, no, sir. And that's when the sergeant said, oh, I understand you, sir, because they did it to my parents. They take the Irish name, and give them British name, and I'm in Canada now with the British name. So I understand where you're coming from, sir. When I asked him for his card, he said, please leave. Go.
Yeah.
Go.
We don't have them conversations.
Right?
Because they know what's up. And it's about how we talk to them, how we deal with them. Are we dealing with them on, just like I said, we dealing with them in some emotionalism, or are we going to deal with them on some national principles? And then again, once we bring up national principles, now they got to deal with us on national principles, or they have to continue the railroad, which is majority of the time where they're going to go. Try to coerce you into abandoning your national principles to be part of the corps, or to accept the position of the corps. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standards, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. Right, again, he's talking about that whole civil rights idea, right? Claiming to principles that are unconstitutional. Remember, 1800s is unconstitutional as far as our position that we're taking, that we have some rights and they're civil.
Got him for a second.
Right? Or second. That's probably what got him.
We're all messed up. He's going to get a 50 bag. You know, I woke him up.
That was the ritual.
What was it going to do again? Another one in the call.
If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word color deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by the said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in union, placed the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. The free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. One of the things too is every time we read a lot of Noble Drew Ali's literature, it's mind-blowing that he was talking like this in the 1920s to our people. Like talking about constitutional law and talking about, you know, national principles and certain things. In the 1920s talking like this. Mm-hmm. Like the people don't even talk like this today. You know, like when they talk about we used to talk about in early in the studies or whatever, they used to talk about this. The Moors always used to talk about this grade 8 test or whatever. This grade 8 test that nobody's ever gonna pass because test was crazy. Dealing with everything having to do with stuff that is not just off the top anymore. Just like with how they brought in contacts in your phone or whatever like that. Just push something and dial, and then you don't know anybody's number anymore. Yeah. When high school, you write off everybody's number because put the quarter in, call in, pick up the phone, number after number after number after number after number. Can't even, people don't even know their own number right now.
No, it's true. People don't know their own number.
Don't even know their own number. They have to check what their number is. Yeah, go in their phone, check their number. Right? It's amazing that this mindset was being brought again to, because there had to be a time when we were on this mindset, and then for it to be lost, and then for him to bring it back, and then now we're at that stage again, like we're saying, that it's like dark ages all over again. That the technology has got people to a point where we're actually in dark ages again right now. Right?
To add on to that, I was reading an article in Jamaica. They want to make the language for the infants before they even go to elementary school, which is preschool, like learning the language. They want to make it Patu, as if Patu was even like a language.
Where?
In Jamaica. So the Minister of Education wants to, he's like pushing to amend so they can make it mandatory that they learn Also, yeah, any grant sheets saying really dark ages right
Yeah.
Why do they have to learn that if they're already out
They're already-
their periods?
That's what you know before you know that before you go to school.
What the hell?
You know that before you go to school.
Yo! I wonder where that comes from.
You know that before you go to school.
Oh, maybe that's actually speaking
Crazy.
The sad thing about it is,
That was like
the sad
5
thing
years
about
ago.
it is, that article came out like a couple of weeks ago, but that's gonna be, while that's in the process of being amended and whatnot. No one's, like, none of our people, like, so-called Jamaicans, they're gonna count, none of the parents are gonna counter it.
And say, yeah, it's thousands.
That makes sense, but really it doesn't make any logical sense, because it's not even a language, like, it's a broken down, it's crazy, it's real.
We want to teach
real
someone
learning.
that's something that's already.
Quick question. Do you have knowledge of like
You
the
think
finance,
it's spelled like that?
the finances of how like the Mooney actually worked out? Whereas like, okay, 4 quarters are supposed to equal $1, right? But those 4 quarters are supposed to be silver dollars, so the dollar is supposed to be a troy ounce. So is it supposed to be 4 troy ounces is supposed to equal 1 ounce of gold? And then I don't know.
It sounds like you already know stuff.
No, I was asking because like that's why they have the cent there, penny or whatever, which is supposed to be pure copper, and then 100 of those are supposed to equal $1. So is it then that 100 ounces of copper is supposed to equal 1 ounce of gold?
Oh,
That was part of them. Aside from them wanting us to be chipped, and
Yeah.
they had to take the actual value out of currency. They took away the true
right.
money. That's why they removed the penny. But like, it's like, I've got like 100 pounds of it. So I'm wondering if we start bringing it back to circulation and start minting hundreds ounces of copper. We'll start from the bottom until we get back up to the gold.
It's possible. It's possible.
They're my penny. For sure. You can watch what we're doing. Oh, we got pennies back now.
Damien over here is saying only up to a certain year.
Yeah, before the 60s, it was like 98% copper, and then it started cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, zinc, and then get hollow. Cut it with an electrical drive.
And then again, if you go back to with
Are we talking about numbers?
the wealth of all the national governments, gold, silver, and commerce. And really, the copper is supposed to be just used like you were saying, wrap up your crystals with them or whatever like that, and use it as a conductor. Instead of looking at it from that idea of the money part of it, or making it into money or whatever like that, use it for those stuff. You know, find a new medium
I got a couple of my
to
things,
use it, right?
I got a couple of my favorite.
Yeah, you use copper for things electrical when you're
Yeah.
making things
Yeah.
inside of something.
Well, no, that's what I use for to wire all these, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas
Use it.
gold is the best, and silver, and then copper, and then aluminum, and then metal.
Right. Somebody was asking about this, the idea about national citizens. Now remember that when the reason why there's an issue with the concept of citizen is because we're speaking about the reason why it comes because we're speaking about citizen with regard to the democracy and the courts and whatever. Drawley's talking about our own government. We're citizens of our own stuff, right? We'll be capital C citizens of our own stuff. We're not citizens of their thing, right? If we're talking, like with him saying American citizens instead of U.S. citizens, he's specifically telling us if Americans are the copper colored natives or whatever, then he's talking about our stuff, not this idea of you know, people come to America and then they say Chinese American, so they're American citizens. No, that's U.S. citizen. That's not the same thing as what he's talking about. So remember that it has to be the lessons or the things that he was saying in that time, again, was for that time. But we're reading it in this time. So we have to put our mindset in then to really grasp, you know, free national government, free national constitution. Well, he's not talking about constitution that is for Europeans. We got constitution right here. That's free national constitution. We got Zodiac constitution. That's free national constitution. Europeans have their free national constitutions in whatever country that they come from, but they also have the We the People constitution, which the United States or America Republic constitution, and then the republic being them. So the idea of like the Moorish Consular Court saying Canaanland is a republic, but then they're talking about New York and naming the actual states as republic is a contradiction, because they should be saying Canada Republic if they're really talking about republic, because Canaanland that's Aboriginal and Indigenous. That has nothing to do with republic. It has nothing to do with Republican form of government. But again, it's a way for them to jack the energy of what we've been doing out here for the past 10 years, and they're new. So they're going to say that their stuff is Canaanland, but they should be saying Canada. Their Moorish consular posts in British Columbia are supposed to be saying Canada Republic, not Canaanland Republic. Right? And again, that's just them playing their self. Right?
Yeah, that reminds me. When I did this fact, I got the phone before I got the phone with him. I asked him his nationality because I was wondering if he was the actual enforcer that arrested me. He confirmed that it wasn't him, but when I asked him his nationality, he said, "Oh, I'm black." And I said, No. What's your nationality? Like, what's your nation that you from?" He's like, "Oh, well, I'm a Canadian citizen, so I guess I'm Canadian." I don't say guess. I'm like, okay, so. All right, forget about the Canadian part, because I'm asking what you identify. What's important is what you identify with. So what is your nationality? And he goes, "Oh, I'm black." And I'm like, so you're Civilization War too. So he goes, "I don't know what that is."
Yeah. He's lost there. At that point, that was a Tesla one. At that point, conversation's over.
That was an eye opener.
Conversation was pretty much over. I had a lot of material out, and then so he's like, "Look at the charter right." So I looked up the charter, and beginning of the definition of charter, it states sovereign power, right? Something from a sovereign power. And I already knew that Canada is not a sovereign power. Like he pretty much ended it there because he said, "Well, you're defining now. You're talking about definitions." All right. Yeah, I'll circle my square and square my circle up and catch you later, man.
Catch you later. Catch you later.
Democracy, was it introduced same time as Republican, or was it?
The Republic was first. Well, the people being the government was first, right? Common law, and then Republic. After that, then democracy. But then democracy wasn't really a form of government like that. Exactly. So it's not really that was after. They just took the place. They just took the place of Republic.
Yeah, I know it is. I just was wondering how long after the Republic form did they introduce that?
That would have been like 30s with the New Deal and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right when they got rid of them.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. What's that?
Tribute to that little small.
Oh, the Black inventors. If it's not there, it should be. If it's not there, it's in the bag on the chair. There should be a copy in there somewhere. So when we in this day and age, we wouldn't we wouldn't do the citizen and we wouldn't even go there. We'll say that we're nationals and then that's that, right? Because we're part of a nation.
That being said, I also realized when he said, oh, because the policy enforcer on the phone, he said, oh, that has to do with free man on the land and Moorish citizen. So I had to get him to define basically what he meant by both of those. And so at any time, if somebody say Moorish citizen and they're a de facto or they're a stateless person, then you have to really clear it up because they might be referring to those who are Moors or Moorish and trying to make them a citizen of what they're a citizen of.
Right, or Moors who have citizenship, right? Which is not just us. If they say Moorish, they're not talking about Jews. You know what I mean? Like anybody dark skin's a Moor.
Yeah.
So they could be talking about anybody if they say Moorish citizen. Like what are you really talking about?
Yeah.
Which is why Charlie said Moorish American, never Moorish American citizen. Right? Because again, if you go to Chinese, they say Chinese American, whatever American. But we know that they mean U.S. because they're not American. They can't claim to be American because they're foreigners. We have claim to be American because we're actually American. We're actually the copper colored people that were here before the Europeans came here. Right? And again, too, with the thing of citizen, I always look at it with the Jews, that they say that they're that. So we can say that we're Jews because we know that the original Jews look like us or whatever. But the confusion that's gonna cause, it's not worth even going there. They claim that so much longer than we've claimed it. Why don't we just claim that we're Moors, which would include people who study Judaism, Islam, going down the line. Just saying that we're Moors. It ties us to all the different quote unquote religions. Opposed to, oh, well, we found out that, we are the true Mormons, so we're gonna say we're Mormons now. Well, no, why don't you just say that we're Moors? Right?
Yeah, this is from the book, Tribute to the True Inventors of the American Culture, Moors of North America, compiled by Mariah V. Baird by Foster E. Jacobson, in association with Almara and Star, newspaper North of the Round Table, printed February 2004. So this book is pretty, just talking about kind of like the inventions and stuff like that, and then there's a part of it that talks kind of about democracy and the republic.
Yeah,
and
it's a good one.
do like the transition or give a little footnotes. It says,
before you do that, what made because I forgot that was in there. That was in that booklet there.
I always remember that
from that booklet?
Yeah.
Just a standard.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. One of the small reads, a good small reads.
And then because it talked about the transition of the republic into the democracy is why I remember it.
Okay.
So the following, book notes. The following are excerpts from the book A History of the United States by Harry Williams of the Louisiana State University, Richard N. Kerr, University of Wisconsin, and Frank Friedel, Harvard University, 2nd edition, printed 1965. Just these little points. It says the Republican Party in each southern state rested on the basis of the Negro vote voters. That's what page 23 of that book, A History of the United States. And it also goes on to say, Republican power in the South depended on state supports, the Negro vote, Republican control of the national government, and particularly of the presidency, and the presence of federal troops in the South. Page 25 from that same book, History of the United States. And he makes another point that goes, Reconstruction was the transforming changes that occurred in the entire nation between 1865 and 1877. The year when Southern whites overthrew the last Republican state governments in their section and ended political reconstruction. That's on page 7. And also it goes on to say next point, all attempts of the rich whites to dominate the Negro vote failed. And finally, the promoters joined the general white opposition to radical reconstruction, page 24. Another point, by one method or another, legal or illegal, every white man was to be forced to join the Democratic Party or leave the community. By similar methods, every Negro male was to be excluded from political action. In a few states, he was permitted to vote if he voted Democratic. All right? And it goes it says Lincoln's Proclamation, that's page 28 of that same book. It was Lincoln's Proclamation asked the South to recognize the reality that slavery was dead, but it did not require that the state formally abolish slavery as an institution. The Black Codes were the South's solution for the problem of the Negro laborer and its substitute for slavery as a white supremacy device. Some Negro states passed their laws for the specific purpose of forcing the Negro black to the plantations and farms. Socially, the codes were designed to govern relations between the races to define the position of the former slaves in the Southern society and to invest the Negroes with a recognized and legal, although subordinate status. Those who contended that education and economic progress was inadequate and advocated more militant methods expressed themselves through a somewhat loose organization known as the Niagara Movement. But in 1909, after a race riot in Springfield, Illinois, they came together to establish the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. Although most of the officers of the new society were whites, the guiding spirit was W.E.B. Du Bois, and that's on page 445.
And just for reference point two, before NAACP was Niagara Movement.
Yeah, Niagara Movement, yeah.
So, yeah, Niagara Movement.
Pretty much. But like, yeah. And there's also a movie that kind of coincides with this, what this is saying. If you ever look at the movie called The Free State of Jones, you heard that movie?
Yeah.
No,
Free State of Jones, with, I think it's Matthew McConaughey. And
I didn't see it, but I know he's
yeah, he's the main actor. So he's supposedly a slave owner, I think, or a farmer or something. I don't know. He eventually,
no, he's not a slave owner.
he's eventually an advocate for the slaves, right? And he creates this town called Jones, so it's called the Free State of Jones, where everybody's free there. At the end of the movie, what lets us know it was a Republican form of government, and that this proves, like, as it says, the Republican power in the South depended on three supports: the Negro vote, right? Because the Republican, what they did is they switched it up, where they added whatever, the democracy and the principles of what they say is democracy now was actually what was the republic, right? And now they just, but when you look up the definition of republic and democracy and any other dictionary, it's going to be pretty much the same definition, right? So, because now, like, it would seem like the way things are, and if you put it like towards Canada would be like Republican, for Canada's Canadian government would be like Conservative Party, and then the Liberals would be like Democratic, right? So it says like Republican and Conservative more like rich gets richer and we keep our money and you guys get poor. Liberal and the Democratic is government for the people type of thing, even though that's not what's really being done. But that's supposed to be the theory. Right, so the Democratic Party initially was what we voted in. So at the end of the movie, they finally are allowed to vote a few more, so undeclared more, or that time Negroes, whatever you call it. And they went in to do the voting, and they voted Republican. At the end of the movie, like Matthew McConaughey goes in the voting space with them, and all of them get to go in, and they all vote Republican. There's not even, I don't even think they're Democratic. They're not even existing. Yeah. So I guess like what the time frame was, what, between, said 1865 and 1877. That's when the transition pretty much happened.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So good book, you guys should get it.
What's it called, sir?
A tribute to the true inventors of American culture. The book where those excerpts came from is called A History of the United States.
Sorry, can I add something? So to democracy, the definition, there's 5 of them, and the 5th one says the absence of hereditary or arbitrary class distinctions or privileges.
That's it right there.
The absence of
That's it right there.
having inherited or being of a generation that was born on this land that
Right, that's
exercises
what.
their already
That's-
inherited rights.
That's for stateless people. That's for people who are in dishonor of their ancient former people.
And that's why, quote unquote, blacks vote Democratic now instead of voting Republican.
They can't vote Republican because they don't have that inheritance. They don't have that connection
Yeah.
through the lack of confidence. Mm-hmm.
So there isn't just one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and it is through the above statements. Then the lion of the land can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments in the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, right, by the citizens and his people, which is 2 different jurisdictions. The citizens have their jurisdiction, and then his people have their own jurisdiction. The worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hear and believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in the free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which is being committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into the utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. So when our people are complaining about the Europeans racist and the others racist and discriminating against them and whatever, remind them it's them that has that going on. Because the Europeans only are acting on what's around. They're not just doing stuff arbitrary. They know that something's causing this. Something's causing there to be, Ku Klux Klan, skinheads or whatever, right? And we go back to the thing like you're saying, stateless people. Why is there a democracy? Because stateless people. Why is there, bad music? Stateless people. Everything that is negative on society is because there's an aspect of society that has removed themselves from what society is all about. And once that is there, now they can create all types of different, entities to say blame this, blame that, or whatever like that, because they know that the individuals who cause it are not going to take the responsibility on themselves to say, oh yeah, it's us. let's switch our position and do things better. Bertez.
Yes, it seems like he's making a statement that's that basically describes the whole like historical habits of the people. You know what I mean? Going back since the Constitution.
Right.
Right. Since the Constitution, they haven't been keeping up their end of the whole agreement.
Yeah.
Right. So this democracy thing comes in and creeps in, and then they got involved in it from the very beginning instead of saying the only thing that they're supposed to be involved in was the republic. You know, but the Negro decided, certain Negro mentalities decided to get involved in democracy.
Yeah.
And that's what he's trying to tell us, that that's what gave it its power. You know what I mean? That we got involved in it. If we never got involved in it, we wouldn't have no power.
Wouldn't have no power. Yeah.
Because it went from emancipation, republicanism to New Deal democracy. By C.M. Roberts. Who's C.M. Roberts? You know what I mean? No. And nowhere in the democracy definition do you see the word nation. In republic now, a political unit as a nation having such a form of government. A political unit as a nation, yeah, exactly. Right. Supreme power resides in a body of citizens entitled to vote and is exercised by elected officers and representatives responsible to them and governing according to law. And here, in democracy, will tell you that a government by them directly or indirectly through a system of representation usually involving periodically held free elections. And nowhere in that does it really even speak to the people, really, like what they, nothing. A government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised directly or indirectly.
Because Drew parents and grandparents are the ones who went through Reconstruction. They're the ones who went through the Civil War. You know, they're the ones who went through the 14th Amendment. So that's why he tells us the 14th Amendment is not necessary. Because the 14th Amendment is what Lincoln brought in. Lincoln was the compromise. You know, Lincoln sat down and said, okay, he started off in his first term, he was Republican. In his second term, he was Republican Democrat.
Yeah, I seen that the other day too, that term.
Yeah, it was a party that they formed to switch the you're talking about.
Yeah, the Republic, right? So so it was still Republican, but it was like Republican Democrat.
That's why that's why he has the biggest
Democrat,
statue. That's why he built the statue. They say it's because he freed the slaves. It's not because he freed the slaves, it's because he brought in big business. He brought in the banks. You know, the banks were messed up because they gave all those loans to those, working class Caucasians in the South and different people in the South, and they lost all their money. So the bank came back to them and said, well, how are we gonna get our money back? You know, all these mortgages that we gave to these people so they could buy African slaves, which are expensive, which would have been a trend at that point. And that having a Bentley or having, you know what I mean? So Lincoln said, okay, we'll just corporatize the whole country, we'll corporatize the citizenship. Right, and then 33 is when they corporatized the whole country. The government itself had the toes. So that's why it talks about from 1860s until 1930 New Deal, because the New Deal is just the bankruptcy of the original, the first business, and then starting a new business again.
And this was able.
Pardon? It's like chapter 11, it's bankruptcy. You're still in it, like it's a country going through bankruptcy, so it doesn't take more than 7 years, you know? If you got bankruptcy, in 7 years you can start again. If you're a country and you declare bankruptcy, it takes a long time.
So is that where they introduced taxes? After this?
Yeah, and the excuse was war. But because it's a business, right? It's just it's all business from It's business from 1860s, right?
Even though it was, they use it for the war story,
Yeah.
it was said to that after a while it should stop.
It's supposed to stop. Right.
Just for a period of time to build up again, and then we stop, but it never did. We just keep adding more, spread it more.
Yeah, because they corporatized the citizenship before they even corporatized the country.
Yeah.
So the people were already in the mentality of, you know, oh, I want to be a U.S. citizen, you know. Whereas you told them you're an American citizen.
Yeah. And then again, remember too, with the crossovers also in the definition that they use the republic definition under democracy, and have people thinking that saying democracy is really where it's at in this day and time because we're democratic republics and all this or whatever. But once you go there, you're putting yourself into the crossover.
They even have like the Democratic Republican, all relating to a major American political party in the early 19th century, favoring a strict interpretation of the Constitution to restrict the powers of the federal government and emphasizing states' rights. That's the definition of Democratic Republican.
And then that had to happen because the states had their own constitutions.
And it says 1818 here. 1818. Does that mean they get that term? No.
Yeah, I think it was around, and then it went away, and then during Nixon they brought it back.
Yeah, that's probably the year that would probably mean the year that they started doing that. Yeah. Democratic Republic.
I know like everything is like a numbers game, right? There's numbers involved. So my question is like, what is the number that might be agreed upon internationally or whatever that a number that has standing as a people in order for example, for the de facto to realize that there is that there is this world government that is established and that, for example, they should be paying taxes.
No, that's why Juali said, for example, standards. Because the numbers game is not, it's not like that. It's not really like that.
It's how much
Like
noise
today
you
it
make
might,
with whoever it is.
today it might be like that. But initially, or do you have certain standards? Once you have those standards, then you're, or when they go to the ballots, now they know the numbers based on how much people voted.
But because I started looking at it like, you know, first of all, we're not going to be voting in this Canadian, whatever it is. So I look at it like whatever numbers that turn out for the vote, those are the only numbers that they can even get numbers for. So it's like, okay, we need this, we need to borrow this much, this is how much we need per finance because we have this much per citizen. So all those people that didn't vote, they're not getting representation based on the numbers because they didn't vote. So
Yeah, well, remember, they don't represent them anyway.
I know that.
Yeah, so the numbers don't really,
Yeah, based on what can be put on paper on a balance sheet, only out of who those that voted can there be numbers accounted for.
right, accounted for, yeah.
But stepping back in terms of a standard, for example, I went with Khalid to Home Depot, for example, and then I noticed also at the Canadian Tire, I went to go purchase something, and you know, dealing with everything with the tax, non-obligatory, etc. I noticed that I ended up purchasing the item and getting it for less than advertised. Not like they just took the tax off and straight across. It's like they did what they did, and then I ended up paying less, $3 less.
But was their tax though?
They're not honoring it.
Yeah,
Right,
like,
they're
their
putting
system
on-
doesn't honor it,
they're
so
putting
they
on-
have to put something in.
They're putting on the tax, but they're just charging you less.
Less
And
to
then
accommodate
adds up.
for
So I
tax.
was reading the bill, and what she did was, I guess she took it was 200.
Yeah, whatever the 15%.
She found out how
Take
much
that
tax equal,
Yeah.
then she minus that from the balance, and then she was left with what was there, and
Right.
then tax that
Then
amount,
tax that amount,
which
right.
still left it that we're paying less than
Yeah.
what the advertised price is.
But really what it lets you know is that they're straight overcharging people on everything.
For nothing.
Like, it's not about the taxes.
Because she still gave you what
Then
It's
I
not
said to
about the
myself,
taxes.
me and Khalid were there, and it's like, first there's the ignorance of it, so then there's the, oh, I don't recognize, like, I don't know this is, I've never seen this before. But then there's the, we're not playing right, we're up, everything's fine. So now they're trying to do their job, trying to do something about it and take this stuff out. And so it was almost as if like our input, we could have told them, well, we're the du jour, we're members of the du jour, no, the land, but we're du jour to the land and everything. So the tax should be paid towards us. So literally, it's not a take 15% off, it's a take 30% off. That's what it should be. It's like whatever price is, take 30% off. Then,
Yeah,
then go ahead and do your 15 anyways.
Yeah, well, ultimately, it's supposed to be free, and you should be able to
Yeah.
give them a,
Because all debts are responsibility.
pay you later.
Well then, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Where the same thing with the car, we were talking about the actual money, right? Where that could be payment. Then it's like, okay, well, here's a $5 note, and then here's a silver.
Right, yeah.
And I'll take this.
But then again, remember that you giving them a silver dollar on their side, it translates to 25 notes or whatever on their side, which still is not the value of it in their realm. Like in theory, one silver dollar trumps anything that they're trying to give you as far as a price, because the silver is worth more than anything these people are saying that they're charging you for it. You know what I mean?
The amount of plastic.
Right? Yeah, like, but from the aspect of, they control the minting, so they're putting the tag on what the silver dollar is worth.
Yeah.
And remember, that tag is not, when they say a silver dollar is worth, they're telling you it's worth in fiat notes. They're not telling you it's worth in gold or all the different.
Yeah, they're only putting it in.
They only put it in fiat.
So I bounce between, okay, really it's just about not getting a policy enforcer come and grab you. So if that can be avoided, like, don't they get, like, for example, the home mortgage situation, when somebody after 3 months doesn't whatever, they have insurance, the insurance company pays the complete balance anyway. So like there's already a remedy in place for them.
But do they really have insurance if they've been paying that insurance thing with fiat notes? Are they really covered? And then whose insurance is it? If when you check the policy, it's in all caps.
No, I mean the lender. The lender has insurance. So when the borrower doesn't pay,
whoever it is. If whose insurance?
I'm looking at it like we can go, and since we don't have money, then everything being dealt with cordially and giving this person a life and understanding, they should then have the option to be like, okay, this is an insurance right now. Every single time more comes in here and it's like, no, whatever. If they just write it off on insurance. Then.
If Moors were doing what they're supposed to do from 1913 to now, it could run like that. If Moors were doing what they're supposed to do, instead of playing church with the Moorish movement and using it in its full capacity as, okay, well, just like Charlie said, forget the bank, we have a treasury. We don't need the bank. We got a grand treasury. Everybody pays their dues. All dues goes into the treasury. And then that is the numbers for the nation. Now they look at the treasury. Oh, these guys got 50 billion in their treasury account or whatever. What do we need to charge them for anything? Yeah. Obviously, they're the ones who run stuff if they got the treasury with 50 billion in silver, gold, or whatever in it. Obviously, they run the stuff. You know what I mean?
That's what Joel was talking about when he said gold and silver to the people.
Yeah.
Right, so he said it back then. If they had followed through, then exactly what Cujo's saying and exactly what Brother's saying would be the case.
That's what you're saying. It's funny how democracy is not important.
That's why there's no gold and silver in democracy.
Yeah. Because, like you said, the gold and silver is the one who makes the decision. You're the true creditor. Right? You have the capital, you have the real stuff, and everything else is built off of that. And then it's like, just to touch on the elections, it's like, to me, if you have shares in a company, you have voting rights. You don't have voting obligation, Your voting rights. If you don't want to vote, you don't have to vote. It's just a corporation. They just sell potatoes. They sell products in the store called Walmart. They do whatever the corporation is, what they do. Corporation of City Toronto, they do whatever they do. Corporation of California, do whatever they do. You don't have to vote. That's the true, like, that's the real perspective. Based on the essence of what they do. You know, they formed themselves as a corporation because they felt that that's how they could handle running the government. You know? And so because of that, they make it seem like, okay, you have to vote. And that your voting is relative to
The lies they tell.
yeah, but the voting is not relative to the activity. Right? Like if Walmart has voting, it doesn't whatever
You're
the
still
vote
gonna
turns out
sell this
doesn't change.
product, that product,
Yeah,
this product.
that's
So,
those are two separate things.
yeah.
Two separate things. And you, as a shareholder, whether you vote or not, you can still have input on what they sell and where they sell it and all that because you're the owner.
Mhm. Everybody just needs to not go to the damn ballots
Well, the thing
and then see what they do.
it's the perspective. Like you're the owner. If you're not the owner, then as a Moorish American, you're the landlord of the Walmart. But you're the one who owns the land where the Walmart is. So it doesn't matter. You're on top regardless. So that's to me that's the perspective. You know what I mean? It's not. It's never what you do. It should determine how they interact with you. If you know that you can only either be an owner, a shareholder, or a landlord. As a more, you can't be, you know what I mean? Or citizen, and if I vote this or if I don't vote that, doesn't.
So owner and landlord wouldn't be the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Moorish American is a landlord. Shareholder is just a shareholder. Anybody can be a shareholder. It's open to the public, and anybody can be a shareholder. Moor can be a shareholder. Any Asiatic can be a shareholder. European can be a shareholder. Doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
That's what it is, right? That's what it means, citizenship. But the activity is more so based on postal code and zodiac sign and your chart and that's where they get the numbers from, as the brother says. Like the numbers are in the postal codes and the zodiac signs and stuff.
And then they use that to determine what?
All social planning, social engineering.
Just look at it just like the example with the Walmart.
Mm.
You know, the postal code just let you know which shelf you go on.
Right.
And every postal code has a shelf designation.
Mm.
And then all those postal codes, then you got your section, the big sign or whatever, then you have the small sign with all the little, you know what I mean? So the entertainment department is cargo and whatever department is whatever. And all those shelves there have all the different postal codes or whatever, all the different phone numbers listed.
Yeah.
And Walmart's Canada.
Yeah. Just like you have the international, you have Greek town and Chinatown, really, you have the international aisle. You have
right.
Food, Indian food, Filipino food, same. That's cool. That's it.
And then if they go with the thing, well, you know what? Forget that we're not going to the polls or whatever. And then on the news they say whoever won or whatever like that.
I know.
Then what are people gonna do after that?
Exactly. I don't know what they're gonna do. They're gonna be in an uproar.
They better be in an uproar.
They better be. And go
They
down
better be
and
in
be
uproar.
like, listen to me, which one I wanna make the vote because none of me vote. You see all of it? Yeah.
That's how big it has to be. It's like what the Raptors were.
All of them. You see all the people showing up to the rap dance?
Like that.
You see it, all those people showed up at their
Like that. Yeah. They don't have a problem after. But
That would be epic. That would be awesome.
Last couple lines.
I never realized that with the Raptors, it's Canada.
Yeah, even that,
Canada win.
No, I never realized that. It's because it's gone.
Oh, the North. Oh.
Not work, but there was a second. It's gone to the North. Never thought of it's gone to Canada. I don't know. I never heard of that.
Yeah,
No.
right,
Yeah.
right. Because that's North America.
Yeah.
They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South, and I have examined conditions there. And it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And then also there too, for all the doubters with Noble Juali and the whole right to travel and all that stuff. He said he traveled right there. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into the marvelous light from the prophet. It's love. Yes, Susan, you have something there? You have something for us? Not yet? All right, we'll just check these questions. If anybody has any questions or comments, you can put those out. So the one question was I'm studying and got my papers at Moorish Consulate. I'm waiting for a MAC number. All I want to know is that I'm on the right track or no. I also ordered my right to travel ID from RV Bay. Am I safe or am I another victim of fraud? I've been trying to figure this more thing out for years. Spent a lot of cash in the beginning to some fraud in Detroit. So, I think that's a Moorish American consulate number. So I guess after you send in your stuff, they give you a number or something. Yeah, to make it official.
But why is he asking you?
Huh? Yeah, because we're Canaanland. Everybody wants to know what's going on. Everybody comes to us. Everybody checks with us. Exactly. Well, that's where I was gonna go. Yeah. Right. So part of the reason for that, is that you have this online element of being a more proclaiming, people teaching or whatever, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube or whatever. So when the Moorish Consular crop initially started out, they were telling people that instead of going to RV Bay, you can come to us because we have the same stuff that they have or whatever. So people would go to them, right? But if people aren't listening, if people are using that as their platform, Facebook or whatever like that, but they don't go to the platforms that RV Bay uses, then they're not going to know about RV Bay putting out that one. You shouldn't be going to them because we didn't sanction them. We didn't give them permission to use our paperwork that we use. They just went and did their own thing. Then these people would know, oh, those guys are a fraud over there. So let me go, because they need to go to RV Bay to get the right to travel card. So why didn't you just go to them to go get your proclamation papers? You know what I mean? But that's what goes on the online aspect, because of there not being actual locations for people to go to get this information like we have here, Grand Chief Nature. There's actual temples in jurisdictions or learning institutions, right? So people are left to do their own thing. to try to figure out, just like I said, I've been studying this more thing for years, trying to figure this out. When they could have went to reputable, validated Moors and got the right thing off the top and not have to go through the mess.
And then why put the cart before the horse? Why not email you first?
Yeah.
And say, should I go to this one? Should I go to that one? Blah, blah, blah. But you don't go. You don't certainly pay any fiat, and don't, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and people think carts before horses move. Right, sitting on the horse, wondering what's going on. Right. So it's not that because it's the same papers that RBA has on their side.
Exactly.
But the issue is who are the people that are witnessing your documentation? Is where it comes to where is this at? You know what I mean? If you don't know the people who's witnessing, then you probably don't want to be dealing with them and using their stuff or whatnot.
That just shows the mentality, right? The concept that it has the letterhead and it has the right words, so it's gonna do the job. There's also the aspect of association. Part of the reason that we are who we are and we have our authority that we have and we exercise is because of our association. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these different words associated with each other. The heads know, okay, there's some seriousness. You know what I mean? And that's where the test comes in. If you're traveling down the road and you get drawn down and highwayman, pulls you and then starts off a certain way, but if you, stay your square, like brother said, then it's a test off at the end of the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they know, okay, there is an association, there is a network of serious people. But then there's also obviously going to be
the other side of it.
You know what I mean? We can scoop them up and give them the discipline that they actually deserve. Then, of course, they're gonna, you know what I mean? And then they know that if that person calls somebody that, or if even they don't even have anybody to call.
Yeah.
And if they lose, then it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fraud. It's a dud.
Right.
Shalom, brother.
Peace, boy. Any other questions out there? Got something? Oh, you're getting there. Figure out the European numerals.
We could read it from our Circle 7 Quran. Binding pure by a prophet Noble Jurani, not written.
Divinely prepared Islam.
Not written by him, prepared by him. From the wisdom of our ancestors and knowledge they left behind. Compiled information and then put together this beautiful book for us to have and take us through our life journey. So we're gonna go to the friendship of Jesus and Lamas. Okay, Jesus explains to Lamas the meaning of truth. Page 22, chapter 7. Booyah.
Booyah.
All right, you got that, Mark? Page 22, chapter 7.
Deep on one.
There you go.
Deep on one.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I would say it. You know what I mean? You might take some paper to go find that. Islam more, Yasuna.
Islam.
It's not.
Among the priests of Jagannath, was one who loved the Jewish boy. Lamas Brahmas was the name by which the priest was known. One day, and I'm going to substitute the word Jesus with the word that I know his name to be.
Yes, Lord.
I'll praise him to be. One day, as Yeshua and Lamas walked along the plaza Jagannath, Lama said, "My Jewish master, what is truth?" And Yeshua said, "Truth is the only thing that changes not. In all the world, there are two things. One is truth, the other is falsehood, and falsehood, that which seems to be." Right? In all the world, there are two things. The one is truth, the other is falsehood, and falsehood, that which seems to be. Now, truth is odd and has no cause, and yet it is the cause of everything. Right? Now, truth is odd and has no cause, and yet it is the cause of everything. Falsehood is not, and yet it is the manifest of right. Falsehood is not, and yet it is the manifest of right. Whatever has been made will be unmade. That which begins must end. All things that can be seen by human eyes are manifest are not, and so must pass away. You follow that? All things that can be seen by human eyes are manifest of are not, and must pass away. The things we see are but reflexes, just appearing, while the ether vibrates so and so, and when conditions change, they disappear. The holy breath is true, in that which was and is and evermore shall be. It cannot change nor pass away. Lama said, "You answer well. Now what is man?" And Yeshua said, "Man is the truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Man is the breath made flesh. So truth and falsehood are conjoined in him, and they strive, and naught goes down, and man as truth abides." Again, the Mass asked, "What do you say of power?" And Yeshua said, "It is a manifest. It is the result of force. It is but not. It is illusion, nothing more. Force changes not, but power changes as the ethers change. Force is the will of Allah and is omnipotent, and power is that will in manifest, directed by the breath. There is a power in the wind, a power in the waves, a power in the lightning stroke, a power in the human arm, a power in the eye. The ethers cause these powers to be, and thought of Elohim, of angels, man, or other things, or other thinking things, directs the force. When it has done its work, the power is no more. Again, Lamas asked, "Of understanding, what have you to say?" And Yeshua said, "It is the rock on which man builds himself. It is the gnosis of the os and of the not, of falsehood and of truth. It is the knowledge of the lower self, the sensing of the powers of man himself." And again, Lamas asked, "Of wisdom, what do you say? What have you to say?" Right. And Yeshua said, "It is the consciousness that man is not, that Allah and man are one. That not is not, that power is but illusion, that heaven and earth and hell are not above, around, below, but in, which in the light of At becomes the not, and Allah is all." Lamas asked, "Pray, what is faith?" And Yeshua said, faith is the surety of the omnipotence of Allah and man, the certainty that man will reach the day of faith life. Salvation is a ladder reaching from the heart of man to heart of Allah. It has 3 steps. Release is first, And this is what man thinks perhaps is true. And faith is next. And this is what man knows is true. Fruition is the last. And this is man himself, the truth. Belief is lost in faith, and fruition, faith is lost. And in fruition, faith is lost. And man is saved when he has reached the fake life, when he and Allah are one. Islam.
Islam.
Couple things. So odd and not. Everybody knows like what odd and not means, I guess. When I was growing up in Tobago, this word was always used, not.
Not.
Right? In the West Indies, I know it's probably in other places too, where Tobago, when you're there, you know the word press button phones, dial phones. You got to dial the phone. Right? Exactly. So now you realize what not is, right? But that's what we referred to it back then. Zero is called not. Because not means nothing.
Correct.
Right? So same application. So ought is the opposite of not. So if not is nothing, ought is something. Right? So they keep using references. Right? Like it's saying like, what's the part where it's kind of using ought twice. Where it says not and not. So that in verse 24 says that not is not. Alright, so and Yahshua said it is the consciousness. Okay, so Lamas asked of wisdom, what have you to say? Yahshua said it is the consciousness that man is ought. Right? Man is there's some substance, like something to man, more than meets the act, more than the average. That man is not, that Allah and man are one. That not is not. Right? That nothing is nothing. The power, that power is but illusion. The heaven and earth and hell are not above, around, below, or in. Which in the light of ought becomes the not. Can you break that down? That not is not, that power is but illusion. That heaven and earth and hell are not above, N-O-T not, are not above, around, below, but in. Which is the light of ought becomes the not. And Allah is all. Anybody got any perspective on that? That not is not, that power is but illusion, that heaven and earth and hell are not above, around, below, but in. Which in the light of ought becomes the not, and Allah is all. Verse 24. Page 24.
Yeah, this was catching up. This one to me, this whole paragraph to me, I also take it when I looked at the way that he's prepared this. It's chapter 7.
Yeah.
Right. It's the 5 and the 2. Right. So when I look at that, I realize that if you look at the way that this whole thing is laid out, at this point, he's trying to explain to you who we are, what we are. So from that perspective, he's trying to let you know that you've got to let go of all this stuff and that it's all within, which is what we're suffering from here now. These were as a people. So that because from how I read this, it says the knowledge of the lower self, the sensing of the powers of man himself. Then the Lamash asked, wisdom, what have you to say? And then Jesus says, it's the consciousness that man is ought, that Allah and man are one. So he's telling you right there that we are one. Mm-hmm. And then that not is not, he's saying nothing is nothing, that the power is but an illusion. So, I think about this now as I've started to evolve. The days of us playing our ball and running up and down, that's no longer there. That was all an illusion for you.
That's a wrong more for that one, bro. Wrong more for that one. You set yourself up for that one.
Time is that illusion. But there will be a time, right? The homeless Cujo will be there on that day. But heaven and earth and hell are not above around, below, but in. So everything that we are and everything that we do, I was reading Mariah Yoshida. You remember I gave you that?
Yeah.
We read from that.
The Art of Peace. Art of Peace, yeah.
Right? And he was saying, be grateful and thankful. This was what the reading that I read yesterday. Be grateful for setbacks, hardship, and difficult people. Because he says that those are part of the training. That's part of what our experience is here. And I was listening to Bobby Hennett a couple of days ago, and he was talking about how that really this life that we're living here, this is really almost the dream. That really the reality is us up there as stars. That's who we are. That's why the symbol of the star is there. We are really that. And when we go into other master teachers, they teach you about how we really have star power within us. That's why our soul, that's why our stomachs are called the solar. Right? That's the solar, that's where the whole universe is within us. And so that all of this stuff, everything that we're seeing outside is really within. It's really all an illusion, and it's really all that you want to set it as. And then obviously this hardship that we're going through is where we're at that stage of our awareness. Well, of our awareness. Because that's where, and this is why I say it's incredible when you start sort of tying it all in. They say in the Christian thing that you can ask for forgiveness at any time, even on your deathbed, right? You talk about when you have the priest come in and he gives you your forgiveness. That forgiveness really is from sin. And what is sin? Sin is really ignorance, right? And that ignorance is the ignorance of what we've been sort of going through all of our lives. Exactly. So really, what our purpose here is to overstand and all of this stuff. And that's why I say even with Moore, who's there, all of these systems are trying to beat the colonizer to get him to give us something. As I said this before, around Jermaine, I feel like we're still on the wrong path. Because if we're still looking at what they have to give to us, we still put them in a place that they don't belong to be in. Once we start taking care of our business the way every other nation does, it's over. For whatever reason, the sorcery that they put on us, we have many steps to go. And those steps are inclusive of loving each other. Because as I said, I keep bringing up the Joe Villa thing. Those guys are lining up in line for a half a day to support their own. We can't even, we can't even support our families. How are we going to get out of this? Right? And then he says, and Jesus said, faith is the surety the omnipotence of Allah, and man is certain that man will reach deific life. We are all destined to become that. You just have to, salvation is a ladder reaching from the heart of man to the heart of Allah. It has 3 steps. Belief is the first. It's what we believe. I used to believe in Santa Claus. Right? And then it's faith. Faith is what man thinks. Belief is first, and this is what man thinks perhaps is true. And faith is next. This is what man knows is true. Fruition is the last, and this is man himself, the truth. Belief is lost in faith, and in fruition, faith is lost. And man is saved when he has reached deific life, when he and Allah are one. And we are already one with Allah. We just have to get rid of all the stuff in between. But of course, it's not going to be manifested in that way, in terms of that simple way. And this is what I've started to realize, and this is some of the stuff that I've been trying to get around. That's right. You haven't seen me that forever. One of the things that I think we have to, this is one of the things that just came to me now. Part of our issue is the colonizer has implanted in us what we think is the end game. To have finance, to have a place to live, and all these things. Once we have adopted that, even the end game to this is our issue. Because what I start to try and do is get away from looking at the finance and that stuff as something that I'm looking to attain. Because once he's got our minds, he's got everything. So we've got to change that. But it's hard for us, right? We're going on the slave tomorrow. Everything else is about that. But we know that that's the game. They've co-opted everything in the finance. Once we get back to ourselves, it's over. Once we start loving ourselves, we think that means
Another chapter, a verse I see here. Somebody can break it down without our input on it. Verse 5 and 6 actually. Because now truth is art and has no cause, and yet is the cause of everything. The truth is art and has no cause.
Then what I find is interesting though, and this is what I'm saying, so I'll connect it. 6, the next one says falsehood is not.
The 5 and 6.
Sorry, I know. There's too long of a pause there. But I didn't hear him clearing his throat or anything. All right, well, you definitely got me there.
6. Falsehood is not, and yet it is the manifest of right. Why don't you break that down? What does that mean? It's the manifest of right. Falsehood is not, and yet it is the manifest of right.
Well, I sort of, some of the times when I've read some of this stuff, I start to wonder whether there hasn't been people getting into this. Kujo has talked to us about getting into all of this stuff. But sometimes I wondered whether there isn't more to what he said here, but he said it is the manifest of right. Everything that is has to come out of the truth. Whether it is falsehood or not, it has to come out of it. And then what I find is interesting, when you jump on to chapter 7, or verse 7, whatever has been made will be unmade, but that which begins must end. And he's talking about time. So I sort of feel like he's throwing out a lot, like to me, he's sort of throwing out hooks. And whatever hook at whatever time you're at will catch you. If you see what I'm saying, right? So,
Never been jabbed.
yeah. So falsehood is not, but what I'm saying that is I think what he's trying to remind us is that everything comes from truth. It depends on how we want to interpret it.
But she said the performance of it, truth has no cause.
That's right.
Yet it's the cause of everything. Like, it has no purpose, has nothing to prove. It's just there doing as it does.
It exists.
Yeah.
You have to coincide with it, I guess living your best self, best.
It just reminds me of that same two things of college, right?
Yeah.
And then like the absolution of it, where like people like to think like truth has versions or something.
I know, your version of the truth versus mine.
No, it's either the truth, anything after the truth is false.
Yeah.
Right?
True or not.
Yeah, right. There's no version of the truth.
How about divine truth?
Well, yeah, of course.
It's higher than the truth.
That's what we're talking about, really, right? The absolute thing that can be changed, right?
So easy like true, true. It's true.
It's truth being true.
Correct. Like the other stage. I get what you mean. Divine truth to just be divine truth. And not sure after divine truth.
There's no truth after divine truth. Divine truth would be the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Divine truth is the truth. Yeah.
No, it's not nothing.
We have misconception. People look at falsehood and think it's true.
Yeah,
To me, that's.
So yeah, it's not right.
So I think after that man is trained and mix, which is all
Yeah.
so I'm like, it's a mix of fathers and stranger mix. So the stranger mix. That's what the married do it.
Is everybody familiar with the Elohim?
Yeah.
Verse 18 says the ethers cause these powers to be. Right? The ethers cause these powers to be. Thought of Elohim, of angel, man, or other thinking thing directs the force. When it has done its work, the power is no more.
You always say
Hey, that was the divine truth right
So the force is like if we're gonna say there's a divine truth and a lower truth, like a lot of that energy would be that divine truth. And us as an extension of that divine truth is the truth. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and yeah, the breath is the truth, right?
it's us.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Right, so it says the ethers cause these powers to be. And thought of Elohim, of angel, man, or other thinking things directs the force. So the force is the source. The force is the source, and then the power is directed from that force, which you could say is us on certain levels, right? Have different attributes. So we vibrate on certain frequencies and we have certain power directed from that one source.
It's like radiation, like rays.
Yeah,
It's like they have a source,
yeah, exactly.
but they have a beginning and end.
Yeah, exactly. But the source is 15.
That's your right there.
Especially
The
on
bottom
this
one.
thing. Everybody is familiar with believing at the address of Elohim. Everybody knows what Elohim is?
That's the one that didn't.
Huh?
That's the one that didn't want to do this one.
Didn't want to.
The seven.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be because it uses the reference of it in here as well, right? It says,
The cherubs of like that.
it says, hold on, I'm fine, sorry. The part that says everything that is, was, and shall be.
Nevermore shall be.
That's the Elohim, right? And that's the source as well. Yeah. Somewhat, I think, because the Elohim is like it's to say 7 different spirits, right? Energies that we commonly know as Sunday to Saturday.
We also know them as the 7 laws, 7 universal laws.
7 universal laws that become different attributes of the Elohim. Right? So if the Elohim is considered everything that was, is, and forevermore shall be, and then that's everything. That's like
only 7 days in creation.
yeah, that's everything. Right? That has to be the source.
It's like how there's not keys, I don't know.
Why you think you
Why
think
there are 9?
Yeah, it's almost like exactly.
only 6?
Ain't the one person.
Yeah, who's going to chop the wood off? The wood of the source.
What's interesting is soon you were talking about the force. I don't know if any of you were happened to be around home, but they were playing the Star Wars trilogy from 1 through 7 for the whole Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
Bobby Hennett was talking about how Hollywood stuff, all the stuff that he was relating to movies, all of that stuff is all stuff that's speaking to the spirit. But whenever you see these movies, remember Khalifa was saying that everywhere you're seeing signs of us.
Yeah.
Anytime you see a star, the Catholic school board uses a star.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Anytime you see any of this stuff, it's all our symbolic. Right? And all the movies basically are speaking to our spirit.
Mhm.
And they're gauging our responses to that, and we're also trying to obviously influence us. The Star Wars series, with the Jedi and all that stuff was all us. The Jedis were us in our sort of Baphomet state, right? The state being control the force. That's what it talks about in the books, being control the wind, the air, and the fire. So all those things are all forces that we should be able to control within ourselves as well.
What about no?
I think, is that what you're talking about when you're saying, You know, everything that is or was or evermore will be, the wisdom is
Yeah, which part is wisdom?
no, that's in the creation fall of man.
No, I know, but it said something like that in the chapter as well. Well,
Well, I find that if you want to connect things, they said, why did creative fate give us a spirit man, which is Allah, a soul, that he might function on the plane of soul? And I start to think about these things, and realizing that these are the modalities that we have to do our lessons on. So the soul is somewhat the spirit, but not vibrating at that thing. So to me, the soul is the essence of love, truth, and whatever. Right? Why did creative fate give to soul a body of the flesh that he might function on the plane of things that are being manifest? That's when you're doing the good work, helping people. So that's thought, word, and deed. Here now you cherubim, you seraphim, you angels, and you men. Here now a quarter class of earth and plant and beast. Here now you creeping through the earth, and fish that swim and birds that fly. To me, he's here throwing out a spell. To let everyone know. Here now you winds that blow, the thunders and the lightnings of the sky. Here now you spirits of the fire, water, earth, and air. Here now everything that is or was or evermore will be. Wisdom speaks from the highest human spirit. Man is a thought of Allah. All thoughts of Allah are infinite. They are not measured out by time. The things that are concerned with time between men. The thoughts of Allah are everlasting in the past unto the never-ending days to come. And so is man, the spirit man. And man, like every other thought of Allah, is but a seed that held within itself the purposes of Allah. Just as the seed of any plant that holds deep within itself the attributes of every part of that special plant. So I see there that he's continuing to tell us that we are part of the great Creator. And that's what to me this book is all about. And this.
so would you say in the Holy Breath is the source?
Yes.
Right? Exactly. So within the same chapter we were just reading, in verse 10, it gives the same description as they described the Elohim, right? Elohim is everything that was, is, and evermore shall be, right? Right? The Holy Breath is truth. So now they're saying the Holy Breath and truth are the same thing. Right? The Holy Breath is truth in that which was and is and evermore shall be. The kind of chain of that sort of. Alright? So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. But if you look in the earlier chapter, where Omar was just reading, I can't remember exactly what it's in the creation of the fall of man. It explains Elohim and tells you that it is what is, was, and forever shall be. And we give the same description of the Holy Breath. So if the Holy Breath is the source, then Elohim has to be as well.
Well, I see the Holy Breath being the feminine energy behind it.
Behind everything, that's the source.
Right. But then manifested.
No, I don't think it was just the breath. I don't think it's like the same description as the breath. I just think it's like the same type of like, okay, it's part of the hand, and one is the thumb, one is the index, one is the middle, one is the ring, one is the pinky. But they're all still on the finger, still on the hand. So they're still called a finger, right? But they all have a different names and different purposes. Yeah. It's like on a lower level, it's like separating ourselves and saying, well, no, that's the source of where it is. No,
Right, it's all one and the same, yeah. It's all one and the same.
But I mean, that's to me, that's the mystery. Oh, 7 being one, because they never conflict each other. You know what I mean? There's never, we never wake up on Tuesday and half of the world is thinking it's Saturday and half the world is thinking it's Friday. You know what I mean? Either you just forgot what day it is, or that's it. That Tuesday's Tuesday. You know what I mean? The law of correspondence doesn't change the law of vibration. Somehow they're able to interact together, but that we can never know. But that's the mystery of Allah. You can't know how those 7 are. You know everything else, but you can't really know that.
but they all work like a system. Yeah, right?
single unit, the system for one singularity.
So I think I found the part that you're looking at. It's chapter 11, which goes with chapter 1. Remember that's one of the things that Dan was talking about.
Well, that certain chapters go to each other.
Yeah, so this is chapter 11 when he's dealing with the people that aren't, and Jesus talks to their actor. Right? He talks about how man started off as a slug, whatever, and then now it goes on to, then Jesus answers, "Let Arabo, are you a mastermind and do not know that man knows not? Have been told, man may believe what others say, that's he never knows. Man would know, he must himself be what he knows. You remember Arabo when you were 8, the bird, the worm? Now, if you have no better proof nor plea than that the priest has told you so, you do not know, you simply guess. Regard not than what any man has said. Let us forget flesh and go with mind to the land of fleshless things. Mind never does forget. Backwards to the ages, masterminds can trace themselves. So with a Highlander, stuff like that, that movie that talks about time there was when man was not. That which begins will have an end. If man is not, a time will come when he will not exist. From Allah's own record book, we read, trying Allah, Mother, Father, Son, breathed forth and stood seven spirits before his face. And Tesla, I remember this to this day when we talk about the 7 different aspects of man, beast, whatever. They also connect the 7 spirits breathed before his face. The Hebrews call these 7 spirits Elohim. These are they who, in their boundless powers, created everything that is or was. These spirits of the triune Allah moved on the face of boundless space, and 7 others were. So to me, the 7 others that those are the planets. That could be wrong. And every other had its form of life, and then it goes to what you were talking about. Because the other things that you talk about, man called these ether planes, the planes of protoplas, of bird, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel, and cherub. 7. These planes with all their teeming thoughts of Allah are never seen by eyes of man and flesh. So he's talking about the spirit of those things, right? They're composed of substances far too fine for the fleshy eyes. Right there he's talking about chemistry and physics and quantum physics stuff. This right here is that quantum physics stuff, right? He's talking about the spirit of those things. It's something far too fine for fleshy eyes to see. Instead, they constitute the soul of things. With the eyes of soul, all creatures see these ether planes and all forms of light. Because all forms of life and every plane are thoughts of Allah, all creatures think, and every creature is possessed with will, and in its never has the power to choose. And in their native planes, all creatures are supplied with nourishment from the ethers of their planes. So that's why sometimes I think about it, eating plants, eating all of this eating stuff. Bobby Hemmett talks about when you eat, and saying, remember he was talking about that gods back in the day, if they wanted to die, they started eating. So he talks about some of this stuff, right? Because he's saying that we didn't even eat this earthly stuff, and we'll have to eat food. That's part of our fall, right? And so it is with every living thing and then it says that in their native planes, all creatures were supplied with nourishment from the ethers of their planes. And so it was with every living thing until the world became sluggish world. And then the ethers of the protoplastic earth and the plant, the beast, the man began to vibrate very slow. The ethers all became more dense, and all the creatures that were these planes were clothed with coarser garb of flesh, which man can see, and thus this coarser manifest, which man called physical fear. And this is what is called the fall of man. That man fell not alone, the protoplastic earth and plant and beast were all included in the fall. The angels and the cherubims fell not. Their wills were ever strong. And in some of these, you see it says never. In this one it says never. So that's why I'm saying when I first was reading this, it was saying never. And that's what confused me. But then in this one it says ever. And it makes sense, it was ever strong. They never, but think about it, just one word like that, putting one thing like that, your brain fuck up everything.
Round of applause for Dirty Morris.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It depends on how it's perspective. That's how you look at it too, because it could be never or ever. Because never strong, but from which angle you're looking at it. Like, yeah, okay, our wills were strong enough for whoever.
We want to know why it doesn't make sense, because if it was never strong, then why did it exist as one of the first things?
But explaining it pertains to like what they're talking about, like.
I would say it's never.
It's not because they're strong enough to create. Yeah, but it was.
They had to be strong.
If you look at it from like what like how the kind of like a biblical perspective or whatever, which is what they talk about as well. And there's the same type of stories. Like the never could mean that whoever wasn't that or whatever, just regular man or whatnot, we had the power to choose, the will to choose. This is what the angels said, we didn't have the will to choose, right? We had the will to choose, to make a decision. So that can be looked at as strength, because you have the power to make the decision. You know what, I'm not just stuck in this, so our will was strong enough that we could change it. That we could decide, you know what, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that. Their will wasn't strong enough because they're only designed to do a certain thing and they can't go beyond that.
Yeah, fair enough, but then that's what I'm saying.
And then it could be looked at as effort, because you could say, okay, their will was so strong they never felt victim of temptation or certain things. They were just on whatever they were designed to do, and they never swayed straight from that.
Remember, it says these are just the angels and cherubim, and seraphims, which are like the protectors.
Yeah, but they're from all the nine levels of the angels. That's in verse 2. What I'm saying is, what you stopped at ever strong, and then you didn't read the rest. And so they held.
And that's what I love about the Quran, because you can't read, part of the chapter and you don't feel like
you get the full.
Rest.
Yeah.
You have to read
So here's where,
everything.
and so this is why we read the rest. That's why I'm saying I agree with them. Maybe they were saying that they were never strong. But to me, if our abilities to get back to where we're supposed to go, why is it we're having such a hard time? To me, it makes sense. The angels guys held their shit. They were on their square. We're not on our square, because if we're on our square, then let's go back to where we're supposed to go. We can't seem to get there.
But it also gives the impression, though, that they had, like, when you say like that, it's like they had a choice whether they were going to stay doing what they did and we just felt, no, that was they were, like, according to how the story goes, they were mad at that.
Which story?
That they, in the Bible, or certain, and then this is the same kind of structure of how it talks about when it talks about the cherubim and angels compared to other beings. Like certain angels are higher beings that said that they're mad at the Most High, they're mad at God because the mundane human or whatever, the lower being that was created or that manifested in this lower garden was able to choose. They never had the ability to choose.
Well, but I mean, I'm saying we gotta go with the text, because what it says here is this is what it's called the fall.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why he was supposedly banished. Yeah, which was right, which is Venus.
Well, anyways, we're gonna.
Listen, they were upset that they could not have the choice. Like, why are we confined to this only when they could do this or decide not to do this if they wanted to? We don't have the option, and we're supposed to be greater beings than them.
Well, I would say I would agree with you, but I look at the state of what we're in. Right? So if we all judge things by where we're at. They see we children in heaven, we're down here doing whatever. Right? So I'm here, but I'm just sort of talking.
Because they don't feel like they have less power by being. Why can't we come to heaven and go to earth and
cause badness
and
and come
do
back? No.
like the Nephilim stories? Yeah. Right? Why can't we go and go amongst the Son of Men and then come back to do what we're doing? Why do we have to stay here? How come they're less, but they have more power than us?
Remember,
Who told that lie along the way? Who told them that we have more power? I feel like they would have more power since they're living in the whole truth and nothing about that.
But I also say this: that the whole
You run back to that kind of like jurisdiction in a way. You run back to the Bible mindset, where we know that the angels are supposed to be messengers of God. Period.
They shouldn't have nothing to do with this physical plane.
I'm not saying that's what I feel, or I'm just going according to the description of what certain things are said of the way the story is, right? Even if we're looking at this Quran, it doesn't say it so much like that, but it still suggests that.
Yeah, I heard that in the Quran, Holy Quran record. It does say that the angels have a certain jealousy of men.
Yeah, I read both. And that's what I got from it. Right? And it says the same thing here, but just not saying it like that.
But then that's man saying that the angels are jealous of us. That's man trying to put himself on a pedestal again.
And I think one of the things that we have to look at, we got text that has different things in the text, that's a problem for us. No matter what, that should be a problem for us.
Or like, I mean, like in our text with the never and ever.
Yeah, so that's a
Did
major.
anybody else see Never in a big book? Does anyone else have a big book?
Well,
I think the person who probably changed it to never.
I'm saying, but these are master.
Probably possibly thinking from the perspective that
But
I'm bringing forth.
I think what these are.
I think it's just some damn typos.
No, I think these are masters. These are master sorcerers who have been changing just little things.
It's one of three. It's what I said, what you just said, or what I wrote. Right? It's a typo. It was interpreted different, or it was deliberately done to misdirect.
Either way, what I'm saying is you should be picking up a book here written by that author, and that book, the same book that you get over there.
Most definitely.
So if there's a problem there, to me, that's a problem. And now we're sitting here discussing, now we're sitting here discussing which is right, which is wrong. We really lost the essence of this, right? On a certain level.
Really, you gotta alert the nation. You gotta alert the whole nation from here and beyond. That the word never supposed to be. Page.
No, because but this is what I'm saying, when you read to the end of it, really the end of that chapter, which is sort of beginning, and what, as I said, Denham talks about, that chapter is very, very important to us and our sort of path. It's really talking about us reestablishing our heritage, to be back with one with Allah. It's not talking about us sporting on the earth. It's saying about getting us back to be sitting on our plane, feeding off of our energies. Because the fall of this was when we fell into the atmosphere, where Earth fed off the protoplasm, the beast fed off the plant, and we fed off the beast. That was the carnal fall of man. Not about us figuring out, not about us playing around here. Because if we have that power, then we should be jumping back up to the other plane. And we're not able to do that. So to me, that's a problem.
we are able to do that. We just can't do it in flesh.
Exactly.
Right.
Because man is mind. Because we can do it in thought.
But wait a minute, but then when we look to the thing about the resurrection, really that is the next step,
The next level.
which was the resurrection, to be able to sport in this plane and that plane.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it has to do with just with the word spirit alone. Spirit means rest. That's
right, and that's what the angel was talking about.
And so when they're talking about the different planes, I don't think it's a physical unit that.
Yeah.
You're doing something like yoga or
meditation. That's where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. You can go to these places.
Yeah, you could be here and be there. Yeah.
Without physically going or physically dying.
Leaving or dying or whatever.
Because it's always mine.
The problem is that we've lost ourselves in the flesh.
So that divine answer that that good that we want to get back to, we can't establish it in order, we just find it. You either or again, focus on your breath and teach yourself
Well, he says, no bigger nation has ever attained the rights of spirit.
That's right. The only way we're going to get there is until we look at the state of our people, we realize that we're in real trouble.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean that the sister said you can get there right now as an individual and just do your own and do your thing. But yeah, as a nation, there's no,
But you're right.
there's things that have to, put in place.
But I think what our duty here as the people that are at the forefront, Dr. Henry was talking about this again, from the perspective that we're the ones that are supposed to go out there and let everyone know what's going on, right? We're supposed to take this to the hedges and the highways.
Yeah, yeah.
So that the rest of our people who are calling themselves black
Yeah.
know about this. Because until we get our nationality back, we're not making that jump.
Well, they're not making that.
They're not. I'm saying, but I'm saying we as a people in general, right? We should all be hopefully able to get onto the boat, right?
Yeah. Islam.
So
Any more comments?
So no class next week. We have. Hold on. No class next week. We have our second. I guess our first annual autumnal equinox walk happening at the Beltline. Where's that? Which is at Young and Murphy.
Young and Murphy Street.
2 nights north of St. Clair Young. Meeting there for 11 o'clock. Bring all the offspring. It's a beautiful little path. We're doing the autumnal equinox walk on the 2nd of November. No. 9th of November. The 2nd of November, we're going to Ottawa. Lecture is at 5:30 p.m. A bunch of more going out there. Try and contact people if you're interested in going. We'll have class on November 3rd. November 9th, we'll be having our Autumn Equinox Walk, and then I think a week or two after that, Iowa, we're looking to have our Autumn Equinox Feast here. And we'll be setting up some tables, and we'll be having the Autumn Equinox Feast here and here. Yeah. That'll be our first annual one there, and then it'll be, I guess, downhill from there to Noble Trail Day.
Uphill.
That's right,
Okay, hold on, so I'm gonna be cooking for the feast on Equinox, if anybody does feel to contribute something. Yes, you guys, sorry, that's not your palette. Feel free to provide proper.
Yeah.
So we'll be so what we can do is we'll follow up more on that on the 3rd of November. But I'm looking to have that on November, maybe even do it on the 10th. Maybe we can do it on the 10th, or we might look to do it the week after. And then we'll be looking to try and get some jurisprudence stuff going with us for all those who are interested. But one of the things, just to let you guys know, I mean, we're here on Sunday, taking our days. Some of us have been up since 8 and 9, but for us to be doing the extra work, we're going to have to allot extra time. So, I mean, that's part of what this is. I now made Sundays rather than going to church or watching football. I'm here, right? So that's that.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Oh, you know I'm gonna catch up. That's CDR, guy. Bro.
PVR recorded that.
Still here on Thursdays doing the Hugs program. Whoever feels male, it's feminine in nature, but on a physical perspective, it's the man or the male that we want attending initially. So that's what goes on. We cut it down to every other Thursday now because of the attendance wise. You know, hard for me to be wasting gas or the bus fare to come up there, and a lot of times it's just me by myself or me and the Noirs. Maybe me and Amari's been there sometimes. So we
Cool.
it's all right.
All right, I'll be here.
It's okay. I'm not worried about it. But me and Amari were here. I don't know how many of you know Amari hasn't been involved physically in the temple for a year. He's still a huge staying member, like clockwork, and still very devoted to the movement. 15 and following behind. So me and him were building on Thursday. He's been coming by and he's trying to reinsert himself physically again. Like the offspring, I don't know, I heard it's like the children would ask, like, when are you going back to the temple or certain things, right? Right? So it's usually them that said us, right? So his offspring was asking the same thing, like, oh dad, when are we going back to the temple? Like, you know, I miss it. So it's good that they feel that way about it. So we decided we want on Saturday. We want to start a program where we're bringing in the to give them the foundation lessons and science and about that. And a lot of them don't have the basic information about certain things, or it's not really consistent. Some of our parents don't have the time every day to kind of instill certain things. A lot of times they're with their school and other people more than they're with you during the day. Right, so it's kind of difficult. So we want to try to see if we can set aside Saturdays in the early afternoon. You know, like probably like 12, 1 o'clock. The first couple sessions, we want to see if the parents have to bring their children anyway, but the parents could stay and we go through a couple of things.
Like the curriculum.
Yeah, because and Mario especially too, he has a lot of info and experience and somewhat expertise in dealing with the school system and stuff like that. So we want to help parents navigate with the young Moors through that system too, of what, you know, that of maintaining that indigenous kind of status or energy when they're going to school every day in an environment where that's non-existent. Because it's also saying that because of the work that we've been doing for the past 10 years, a lot of indigenous things are being spoken of and talked about in the school now, and they're trying to bring that to the forefront. But it's still kind of tainted, you know. It's still a bit quasi because you're dealing with it from a certain angle. It's not putting us in that type of arena as indigenous people. So there's writs that he's given that the school brought up where he's from has had meetings about and studied and stuff like that. So he has info for some of us that we could use. And if we're all on the same type of wave for info, then it's going to create a bigger effect. Like, not like, okay, Peel region or Togo or Durham region, just more, but they're doing different things when it comes to how we're telling the school board to educate, or the school system to educate our children or whatnot. We will all be on the same page and we'll be consistent, right? So we want to have some of those type of meetings, and then just have after that, just have the children there regularly on Saturdays, depending on if they'll say or whatever time they do on Saturday. And then we bring them in and build them from the ground up. We don't not wait until we're our age in our late teens and 20s and 30s and 40s.
And they have a lot of information for us.
Exactly.
You're gonna ask this question.
Exactly, and then it'll keep us on point too, right? So yeah, that's what I'm proposing for Saturdays. Anybody wants to get involved with us, you know, Marty can talk about it a little more and figure out.
I just want to talk with you in terms of the time too, because I want to start interest groups on the other side. So we can figure out.
You're gonna be up there and,
Well, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I want to make sure that we figure it out. So, well, not only that, because wherever it's best for the offspring.
probably more likely to be downstairs.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, and it won't be an issue. It's fine.
We're trying to fix her up there. I want to be downstairs.
It's fine, it's okay.
It's a function of the streets right now.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
like,
there, there, don't you see it, don't you hear it, don't you? There.
You're down there now.
waiting for somebody to come and feed them with info.
Exactly.
More, we got that.
Got
If anybody has any like supplies and or access to free supplies or things like that, you can use like one of those flip paper boards too with the paper on it. Like, you know, where
We have the easels.
we have two down there. We have two down there. That's fine. But I like one of those where you know that we have the big one. Yeah.
We have the paper. Is it
Either
the
line
paper?
or blank, don't matter.
Yeah, there's paper down there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just brought some paper. We just need we just need an easel to put it on. Yeah.
I will help you for that.
Yeah, we just need an easel.
Trying some stuff out, that's about it. We get that going. Does everybody feel like that's
And we
where that
got
could be useful? Especially if I'm asking you, what can be done in there? You know, I'd like you to bring your children, Lisa, if you could bring with us both, that would be great as well.
I think I'll just go, Pleasure Us, because I have this one right there. They have to look good for it, with a sign.
Yeah. So what else you can do? If you need some, if you have a discount and you still need some contribution, that works as well. Right? But that's on that they're interested in that for your children, a program like that. Saturday. Yeah.
awesome.
And again, this is part of the other than just come to classes or meetings or whatever, that the members doing certain things, and also again it being shown of what Moors are about. You know what I mean? If we're doing it for the young and unborn, especially the way that the young and unborn, as they've gotten older, we see them straying into all types of BS or whatever. It's critical time right now to get some of these things going so that we can start swaying the votes in our favor with regard to how things should be done for the young and unborn to get themselves in order and you know change the narrative that's been taking place too.
Like, we sometimes as parents we just get lackadaisical and get comfortable because it's a lot of work, you know what I mean? Especially like trying to counteract what they're doing in the school system and whatnot, and then teaching your child a different thing. It can get complicated. So if we maintain this consistency and we're implementing in their minds how they're supposed to navigate it and whatnot, they could fend for themselves in that environment. Because especially when they're active as young Moors, right? And their parents, like for example, like Amari and then his children, like they're like Amari's telling me like they're doing Black history stuff, right? And there was one lady who's putting it on, and she's like, "Yo, how come your son's not coming in this because he's not Black, and he's not gonna be involved in that?" Okay, I know, I'm not Black, and da 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 da. Okay, we'll change the name of the program that you have, but it's in the come, then you come. Like, how come all these other youths are not coming? Like these East Indian youths are because like, you guys geared it as a Black program. If you call it something else, then everybody's involved or invited, then it will change the dynamic, right? So somebody like Amari's child now, when he's in that environment, they try to get him into their jurisdiction. Worse, they know that what his background is and who he is and whatnot, so they try it even harder. So that's why we gotta keep on them. So it's like, because then when the child's in that environment,
They don't back down.
exactly, don't feel intimidated because everybody else is doing this and you're doing this, and like you feel like an outcast. You feel left out. Keep them playing that they're confident in what they're doing, they know what they know, and they're getting that tutelage on a consistent, regular basis.
That too is like a very good way of uplifting father and mind. Because we as adults here in our age group, all we've been brainwashed and colonized, it's so hard. But these little babies, they never get the damage that we have.
Yeah.
And now they're in school, they could tell teacher F you and you can't touch it. Nowadays, we couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. So now once they get the real stuff, they're gonna blow it out. And nobody can touch them.
Yeah, and erase the ignorance. They
Exactly.
don't know how to act around other people.
Exactly.
And they're not gonna admit either, but they'll try. You know, like the powers that be or whatever, they're gonna try to manipulate the situation and take advantage of their child and whatnot. And they won't admit certain things like that. Another example, Mark telling me something happened with one of his sons. So then he went to the principal or whoever and just asked him, like, so why didn't you just tell him to do that? Because it was cut on something simple, you know? I don't really gonna fight nothing. But like she didn't want to admit it, but she was pretty much saying like, I can't because I don't have jurisdiction. So I can't really.
Yeah.
He wanted her to try to think what he knew. Right? But he just like, why couldn't you just tell him to do it? So it's so important. Like, you can't just take it for granted and then assume like, okay, when they later on they'll learn and then they'll step into their own of it or not. You gotta push that on them because everything else is pushed on them.
Exactly. Now look at the trend, put that down. Remember that you want to teach about the school, the babies, early, gay stuff in the early.
Yo, definitely.
Look at that. Look at that what we're bringing to these schools.
Exactly.
They were in our time. I don't know about everybody, but in my time they were hesitant. Like they were hesitant to talk about sex ed to us. Just sexual education.
That was a special class,
How you're supposed to navigate and protect yourself, and maybe not to diss anybody or anything, but maybe we're very happy that all the options came, but maybe some of our younger mothers got pregnant that early. If the men and women were getting certain knowledge back then and weren't being shunned upon or trying to hide what it's really about. You know what I mean? Then the dynamic of that could help some of the family structure as well. So now they have no problem implementing the gay and lesbian stuff because it's part of their agenda.
So actually, no, the agenda of the NPA is to lower the age of consent to about 12.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. That's
Right?
They don't keep to
And protect these pedophiles and people.
Yeah, because they're very.
homosexuality was considered a medical illness. That's how it was described in the psychological terms. So this pedophilia that they once considered mental illness, now it's that children 12 years old should be able to make that decision for older people.
That's crazy.
Horrible. So now the question, are we going to only limit the children to those people who are members of the children, or are we opening it to the public for children to come in outside?
We want to take it on their children taking more science and knowledge and curriculum, by all means.
What we could do is start it, and then when they start going to school and tell their friends, maybe mom get friend covered in that weekend, so we'll never know.
Does that time frame work, like early afternoons for most parents, or is it a little later? Would be better?
Saturdays are always up in the air though for everybody.
Yeah,
Something is always gonna happen on a Saturday.
Yeah, now we gotta start putting our minds to that what's more important to us.
So then I'm gonna state that we are ignoring, we gotta do that tonight. Let's say this way, why don't we pick this up, we're at town hall.
Yeah.
So we had town hall last week, so why don't we look to have this as an issue that we bring up at town hall and figure that out, figure out all that stuff. Because I think sort of just trying to rebuild well, as I said, why don't we look at it? We have our autumnal equinox Thanksgiving stuff coming up in a couple of weeks. Why don't we pick this back up later? And we can sort of form some stuff.
I want to start doing tour packages for whether it's really bad people are like,
But also we were talking about this, we were
they
talking
want
about,
to come out, there are always some things like that. Oh, I gotta come on Saturday, and then I gotta go back and come on Sunday again.
so that's gonna be an issue in the world.
Yeah, but the weather stuff is more.
So would this be a woman's on everything?
The women's auxiliary, the women's auxiliary is in up and running.
It's not.
But, hey, why should you do
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're not gonna have anything.
Right, no, but I love this. You're absolutely right. All right, Morris, it's on, Morris, we're not here next week. The week afterwards, we'll be here at 12. We can pick this back up. These are supposed to be meetings, not class. So if you want to discuss that, fair enough.
What's still on?
Oh, yeah, it's
So try to hold on, this isn't going anywhere. What happens, a lot of people throwing a lot of seeds, and the seeds end up not going anywhere. So let's pick this. If this is gonna happen, there shouldn't be any problem to talk about this in 2 weeks from now. Absolutely not. And we can all meditate on the best way to have this happen. Saturdays are obviously here. You know what? You can call him shit for Saturdays all the time. He's been doing hugs every week for months on end. He's now had to drop it down every other week because people aren't showing up. So let's get what's right and what's right, right? It's very good. Showing up shouldn't be a problem at any time. It's about your nation, about all that stuff that we're talking about.
Absolutely, I have an announcement to make, I want that, I've heard it before, but I'm gonna continue to reiterate it. We have our do's and don'ts. One of the things that we ask people to do is to come to class 5 times at no charge. After that, we ask that you either give a $10 donation or you become a member and start paying dues on a monthly basis. So all I'm asking is those who have been here more than 5 times, who haven't become actual members, to please give the donation to Omar. Thank you kindly.
And then also there has to be some registry of that.
Yeah, we have a book now that
The new members. An account of how many times people have been here.
What is first time members are getting all their info and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they get the knowledge and the notes and, you know, so I have a bunch of copies here, so I don't have somebody comes in addition to the rental, if they're brand, you know, if they're brand new, you know.
Let's challenge ourselves as well on a weekly basis, from Sunday to Sunday, like, find somebody and bring them here. Find somebody and bring them here, force them to come here.
And you guys will stand up and they will take it.
Yeah.
I'll even say this, even better than that, find yourself here.
Well, the ones that I'm seeing here right now is the one that I see on consistent, whether it's every Sunday, it's not every Sunday, but it's bi-weekly if anything,
Including yourself?
or bi-monthly. Yeah, including myself. I'm not every Sunday.
There's a lot more. Let's just close out and we'll continue after. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe. Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night
By night
and by day,
and by day,
His holy prophet,
His holy prophet,
Noble Drew Ali,
Noble Ali,
Islam.
Islam.
Mr. Buddy, how are you?
Metatron, I saw y'all do it.
I know.
What's up, bro? Everything good for girls, man? Long time.
I know
never
this.
see you.
Somebody
Who's that kid?
Huh? No, that they just put the type of comment. Canaanland more.
Guess what I made? How did that do it?
I like you guys' pictures. You guys look good. Lots of pictures. See, you look there, that's the camera.
Caleb, Toronto.
Good job.
You did great.
Like this
That's
picture.
cool. I didn't know you should do So,
Islam more than
Islam. No, I want it. Wait, you can say something quick. Islam.
Islam.
And free. Ashe.
And then you have to go to that.